was trying to be adventurous and be like, oh, but what's over the hill? You know, I want to see what's on the other side. So I made a cocktail there called the Ginny Hendrix. I remember selling it quite a lot. And the GM at the time, he was backing me a little bit. I think he just saw this spark and was like, right, I see you've got enthusiasm. And I remember being in an all-staff meeting, and then it was an announcement made, sort of doing a presentation. Like, right, next stop, some big news. Boom, new menu's on the way. Nathan's got a drink on the global menu. And I was like, what? So I was like, can I reach out and just say thank you? You know, let me just say thanks for that. I appreciate it. And he was like, just keep it simple. His email address, copy me in there, and just send an email, just say thank you. And I was like, hey, thanks for this, but I'm your guy. If you need anything, whatever, like.
So you didn't keep it simple?
No, didn't keep it simple. I was like.
Made it into a sales pitch.
Made it into a sales pitch, yes. Yeah. Sales pitch for myself.
Good on you, man.
Yeah. And I've always said, like, you got to kick the door down.
Hi, welcome to PreBatch. Today we're speaking with Nathan Larkin. He is my business partner and the co-owner of Speaking Code in Manchester. Today we talk about developing bar concepts, becoming a bar owner, maintaining a good business relationship, the finer details of bar operations, and many other topics. The drinks for today are from our new menu at Speaking Code. They are a Demo 3, a Demo 9, and a Dirty Negroni. Nath,
hey,
thanks for being here, man.
All good, man. Happy to be here.
So I will have introduced you in the intro, but just to frame the conversation a little bit, like we're business partners, so this will be like a little bit of a different conversation for me. But I think it's going to be really interesting. Like for me, it's going to be interesting to hear some answers to questions that you don't normally ask in like normal everyday life. But I also want to like maybe tease out some information for people to, I guess, to understand what it means to be in business together, because it's something we've discovered over the last, almost 5 years, 4 years, 4.5.
Yes, 5. It's 5 coming out of lockdown,
Yeah. Cool. So before we get into that, tell me a little bit about your just career in hospitality. Where did you start? What was your first job in hospitality? What got you there, and what kind of happened from there?
I kind of always feel like I leave out the very first job, to be honest. So I always talk about my career in hospitality with the start of, when I started making cocktails. But I worked in a real ale pub for the first year. That was my kind of first venture into hospitality. I just got back from Australia, so I did a year traveling. I was mainly focused on music. Never really landed on anything. Basically, what I needed was something just to fund my music career. And then I fell into working in a real ale pub and enjoyed it. Loved the hustle bustle. I think it was quite a slow paced environment, but I kind of made it, fast paced for me. I used to dart around the room trying to do as much as I physically could. And
Until you get to the actual ale, and then you're like,
yeah. 100%. Yeah. That was a new experience. I was like, wow, man, this is it, man. I'm gonna get pumped. It was nothing like what I'm doing now, because real ale's a different world from cocktails anyway. But you still have enthusiasts, and you still have people who are like craftsmen in another way, right? And I think in the cocktail world, we kind of sometimes take that for granted that in that sector like beers and wines, you still have people who put a lot of time and love into their craft as well.
Definitely.
So I enjoyed what I did. It was kind of like a gastropub as well, so small kitchen, serve food. I took a keen interest because I'd done a small stint in a kitchen in Australia, where I probably did like 3 months of just helping out a kitchen just to get some cheaper accommodation. Which again was like that was kind of eye-opening for me in terms of using fresh ingredients and stuff, because I was my general like upbringing around like food and drink was just non-existent. Like I really first opened my eyes to like fresh ingredients in Australia, came back to the UK, started working in this pub. And I was the chefs were incredible to me. I was like, wow, man, these guys like really know their stuff. Anytime I could help, like if they were a person down in the kitchen, I knew we were good out front, I'd be like, let me just jump in for like an hour, let me get you guys over the line. I remember they had like cheese boards, and like I was the only person there who could like visually name like all like 22 cheeses on the plate, you know, without having like, they used to have to like dip flags in the cheese to just give you an indication. I was like, nope, right, let me take this to the table and let me like challenge myself to be like, boom, boom, boom. So
I still see that at Speaking Co. I didn't know you did that, but I still see what you do to our staff about like how they take orders and shit. So
yeah,
that's 100% come from naming 22 cheeses.
yeah, yeah. You look at it like that and say that's correct, and like I think it's you should always push yourself in that way. You know, we'll get deeper into that, but I maybe figured some stuff out about myself because I'd never landed out on any sort of, you know, security in a job before, but I was like, I love this challenge. I love the hustle bustle. I love like this nature of everybody helps everybody. And no matter what, there shouldn't be any separation, right? Like I was saying, I'd jump in the kitchen and help every now and again. And I saw what effect that had in the building. I saw chefs kind of just being like, you're there for me, I'm there for you. You know, like, so I'm, you know, whatever you need, I've got you. And then about a year down the line, there was no actual path of progression for me. So I, you know, saw cocktail bartenders, thought that was cool. Somebody walked out of a Hard Rock cafe when one of my friends worked, and then they called me up and said, listen, do you want to be a cocktail bartender? And I was like, I guess so. Went for an interview, and I went in my friend's suit jacket because I just got back from Australia at this point, and I hadn't really built it. Like, it was such a low pay at this pub, so I wasn't really building up enough, like, so I was just still bobbing around like I was living in Australia, you know, like almost like living out of a backpack still. And then that was kind of when like reality hit, and I was like, okay, let me move on to something that I feel is more progressive. Took this interview, got the job. And then for the next like month at this pub, you know, like the Brit Vic cordials, like the orange, blackcurrant and lime, just spent a month like putting all three of those into a pint glass, bought my own shaker, filled it with ice, and I'm just like practicing my shake for a month. Yeah, before moving into this bar. And then started working at Hard Rock Cafe, and then very quickly realized it was another level. Like first month I was terrible. I was like, I can't do this. What
was the menu like at Hard Rock back then? Because we're talking would have been 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, I could just reel off some names and you'll know exactly what stylistically it was. So Rum Runner, Bahama Mama, Fruitapalooza. Do you know what I mean? Like
I don't know if that's a classic, but
no. But it's more.
They all sound like cruise ship
drinks.
Like
though. It's swap strawberry puree for one with coconut cream with another, with grenadine with another one, and we all know like it wasn't really technique based, but the like over time what it taught me is about culture in a workplace. You know, like I'd never been in an environment before where everybody lived and breathed the ethos of the company. And you know, 6.5 years with that one place, I became a global trainer. I remember actually my first sort of step upwards was I remember sharing a flat with a friend of mine. He worked there as well, and he was super competitive. Like he was the guy who'd be like, you get on the bar and he'd be like, I'll beat you in sales tonight. And you're like,
I had a few of those.
Yeah, man. And you're like, cool. Like this is where we go. And I also had like a senior team above me who were like pretty hard lined as well. Who were just like, I remember doing some dumb stuff on the bar where, you know, the friend who I used to live with, we used to challenge each other to do some pretty stupid stuff. We used to do like laybacks on the bar top and stuff. It's a family friendly restaurant. Do you know what I mean? We're doing like laybacks on the bar. And I remember like,
is it? Okay. I don't know if people see Hard Rock as a family friendly. I suppose that's what they rebranded themselves as.
These days it is.
These days.
But we so anyway, we were doing this stuff, and I was doing flaming Lamborghinis. I remember like seniors pulling me aside, like shaking with anger, being like, "Don't do that again." And I was like, "All right, cool." So you had this like respect for like seniors, but everyone was like super pro. And I always kind of like viewed that time as like it's a massive learning opportunity for me because I had seniors who were pros, good bartenders, kind of a little bit of a mix of like, at that time there wasn't really that many cocktail bars around Manchester, but the ones that were, you'd get an entertainment value with it as well. So there was a little bit of just like showmanship flair and stuff as well, because I think that's, you know, that was a competitive nature that was around at the time as well. And I think to show yourself as a bartender, you would probably dabble in a little bit of flair as well, and there's a lot to do with like tips and stuff. So anyway, I got introduced to, you know, new bartenders, like flair bartending, whatever. And I remember saying to my housemate at the time, we were like, right, who's the person who makes all of the decisions about menus and drink development at Hard Rock Cafe. At the time I was young, I was green, so it was far removed from where we were at the time. So I was a little bit rebellious at the same time as well. So what I was doing was become an experiment on myself. Like I would ask the bar manager if I could come and do inventory with him. I'd be like, let me come in on a morning, whatever. We'll count stock together. And the reason I did that was because you'd clean your pour spouts the night before stock take, and come in the morning, everything didn't have a cap on, or it'd be covered with something. You take the cap off and put your pour spout back in. So every bottle around the bar, I would just like sniff. I'd like, before I put the pour spout back on, I'd be like sniffing. I remember that was the first time I ever touched like Bombay Sapphire or Jameson's, and it's very what's the entry level products, right?
Yeah, palate training.
Yeah, palate training. So I just remember like, I remember very vividly, like I didn't like gin. I was like, I don't like this product, but that's bad of me to, like, I'd never say to a guest I don't like this, but I was like, right, I have to find a way to like it so that I can sell that thing. So I would just then like make my own creations, and it was very much against the grain, and it was frowned upon a little bit, but at the same time, management saw value in the fact that you were giving a guest a good time. So it was a little bit like, look, as long as we can account for everything, do it, but don't take the mick. And even at times I did this like to the annoyance of some of the bar team there, because I think everybody there was a little bit like, follow the plan, like don't stray away from that. And a little bit of me was was trying to be adventurous and be like, oh, but what's over the hill? I want to see what's on the other side. So I made a cocktail there called the Jimi Hendrix, and I was just selling it. And I think Instagram had just started at this point, and I was just telling people like, share it, and whatever, if you like it, cool. It was Bombay Sapphire, elderflower cordial, Cointreau, or no particular order, I'm just reading off the ingredients: lime juice, pineapple juice, and orange juice, shaken in a martini glass with a massive orange wedge on the side, and then somehow trying to fit a mint sprig in there, which would just inevitably float into
in a martini glass, just like
but it was and I called it a Jimi Hendrix. And anyway, I remember selling it quite a lot, and the GM at the time, he was backing me a little bit. I think he just saw this spark and was like, right, I see you've got enthusiasm. And I think what he did was took that drink, spoke to a lady called Cindy, who was a director of Beverage Worldwide, and was like, look, we've got a super enthusiastic dude here. He's made this drink. He's super proud of it. Can we do anything? And then she's made it in her headquarters. And cool, that fits our, the name fits, the flavor profile fits. Like, we're going to launch a new menu. Let's get it on the new menu. And I remember being in an all-staff meeting, and then it was an announcement made, sort of doing a presentation. Like, right, next up, some big news. Boom, new menu's on the way. Nathan's got a drink on the global menu. And I was like, what? So that was a pretty big moment.
That would have been pretty rare for a bartender to create a...
Yeah. And my bar manager
hated all of those drinks that you're talking about, they're all sort of like just cruise ship, everybody knows them kind of drinks. Like Bahama Mama's not a hard rock drink, I don't think.
No, yeah. And I think, you're right. It is kind of rare, but I think the person who was in charge of the drink development and menus, and the director at the time, was, I think, open to diversifying a little bit. I think they were going through a little bit of a transitional period of like, let's try some new things. So I then went straight to my GM, and I was like, right, I've had this conversation a year ago with my housemate, like, who's the one who makes that decision? Who pulls that trigger? So I was like, can I reach out and just say thank you? Let me just say thanks for that. I appreciate it. And he was like, just keep it simple. His email address, copy me in there, and just send an email, just say thank you. And I was like, hey, thanks for this, but I'm your guy. If you need anything, whatever, like.
So you didn't keep it simple?
No, didn't keep it simple. I was like,
made it into a sales pitch.
Made it into a sales pitch, yes.
Yeah.
Sales pitch for myself.
Good on you, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've always said, like, you got to kick the door down, in life. And I think.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes,
but yeah. But I mean, like, no, I mean, if you're fighting for what's right, if you're pushing for what's right, and you want that career progression, because I think nothing's gonna get handed to you on a plate, or in my experience anyway. I felt like nothing was gonna be handed to me. So sometimes I just feel, and especially look in the environment that I was in, it's slow moving. It's slow moving in a sense because their identity is their identity, and they build slowly, and it's careful progression. It's thousands of people involved. So, and I was trying to fast track that. So I was just like, right, so now I have to kick the door down. That's my option. So I was like, thanks for this. I'm your guy. Let me help, whatever I can do. And she replied and was like, cool, got your plane ticket to Orlando. You're coming out in 2 weeks.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. And she was like, and that was me looking at the rest of the team, and everyone's like, man, you fucking. So I flew out to Orlando, met the boss, and then we sat in a room, and I was with like GMs and other like regional managers from all over the US, and I realized I was like, there's no one else here from Europe. Like I'm kind of representing Europe, so we were going through menu development and getting some sign-offs, and I think we had like 25 drinks to present, and they work with another company to develop their menus. It's a very kind of an American like business model for those big things, right? And so like 25 drinks were presented, and we were just all there to taste, give feedback, and say, what about this? Why let's make it blue instead, So I was part of that sign off, and then that kind of kickstarted a lot of things for me, where I came home, and then because of that, I was the guy for like if they wanted to go do a new opening or whatever, they were just I was kind of an automatic choice. And then, but it's about applying yourself, and I then, as alongside opening new cafes and whatnot, I was like, I'm interested in actually redeveloping all your training programs and stuff. So then we started this bartending competition where probably around about 2,000 bartenders would compete at the base level, and then you just narrow it all the way down to like the top 10 in the world. So in the first year, I got through to the European semi-final. It was actually by default. They just went, oh, we haven't. They sent out a brief, and we're supposed to do this whole competition. We didn't do it, but Nathan, you go. You represent us in the European final. So I went to Prague. And I remember like there's an entertainment round, and I think nobody in my cafe at the time kind of took it very seriously. So I was quite loose on the brief as well. So you go there, you do a speed round, a knowledge round, and whatever. And then there's an entertainment round. So I was like, yep, I'm going to get up on stage and talk about tiki. So I was like, we're going to do one of our like tiki drinks. I'm going to talk to you about rum and tiki. So I think I was first out of 10 bartenders. So I got up, and they were like, what music do you want? And I was like, music? I'm going to talk about tiki.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got up on stage, I'm like, who here likes rum? And it was like, hey. And then everybody else after me was just like flaring, like, and I was like, right. I was like, I've missed the memo. Definitely missed the memo. So then, me being me at the time, I was like, this is what I got to do. Actually, this is kind of how I got introduced to EBS as well, because then when I came back home, I was like, that's the thing I need to do. I want to put all my eggs in that basket. If that's what you need to do to win the competition, like none of the other things matter, right? Knowledge, speed, all that kind of stuff. Like all the points are in the entertainment round. So I was like, right, I need to go learn flair. So I discovered the European Bartender School in Manchester. They had a flair room, and it was open for locals to come and practice. So I met Adam, who was the head instructor at the time. Started using that room, just started learning some basic moves. Fast track a little bit. I then competed in a couple world finals, and then I think I came third one year, and the next year I came back. I was like, I need to win. Like I was driven. I was like, I have to win this competition. It just did a lot for your street credit within a company, even though I already had a lot in the bank anyway at the time. But I was like, I want to win. So when I really got back in that practice room, and it was like hours and hours and hours. I was even practicing with Ginge, Dave Reynolds. He was helping me work on my routines and stuff. Like real like sort of legend of the UK flair scene. And anyway, so I then stormed through the local rounds, went through to the European final, stormed all the knowledge, everything. I was in first place. And the only reason I know that is because I actually had a freak accident on stage, and I was distraught. And they came to me and was like, you were like by far and above in the lead until the accident happened. So a glass bottle broke on stage and went through my thumb, and I severed the nerve in my thumb. Oof. Yeah, and I was like, broke about it. But they were like, look, you were so far ahead anyway. We're just going to put you on the plane to Panama, which is the world final, and you can just be a judge, but also help people as well. So like if anyone's like struggling with whatever, you can just kind of be a runner, run around, help people liaise a bit, and just kind of be general communications with bartenders. And then, so then I just kind of fell into a role where it was a little bit more like, I was like, okay, cool. Well, now I'm past the competitions. I'm helping, develop, training programs and whatnot. Flew out to Orlando again, did some training materials with them. And then that's when I was like, I've kind of found like my place at the time was like education. Like I love the educational side. And that's when I moved to UBS, did 18 months there. Then I went to the Lakes, did 18 months there, and then opened Speak and Code.
What did you do? What was the bar in the Lakes? What was it? Fizzy Tart, right? So what was the deal there? What was your position there?
Bar manager, and they had like 4 bars, or 2, but then opening 2 as well. So I was kind of overseeing the opening. It was kind of kind of a unique environment because it's such a small village in the Lake District, such a tourist destination. It's really about like gastro food out there and beers and wines, and not really a cocktail scene. But the owner of the bar wanted to bring a bit more of like a city center vibe to the Lake District. So like, let's work on some cocktail programs.
The guy we met, I met him on that video chat.
Yeah. The one who, we were talking about doing some
some weird stuff.
Yeah, some weird stuff in a church, but
whatever it was, I don't know.
But so he wanted to bring kind of like a city center feel to the middle of this like tiny village, and I was like, yeah, I'm down, whatever. So I moved out there, and they had a lot of money as well. So we designed a bar together on like the top floor of their like 3-story restaurant, which was going to be kind of like a cocktail bar nightclub, hybrid. So we built this like properly well specced out cocktail station, which turned out to then just be a vodka and coke bar. I was like devastated. But we used it for like training essentially, and in my mind I'd just come straight from EBS, so I was still in that like, let's educate, let's have a practice bar, let's and we had a team of like 20 people where I would just like once a week, we just not everybody but the majority of the team would come up and we'd work on like free pouring and just all of those like fundamental things of like speed, like round building, a little bit of flair and stuff, because that's what they really wanted out there. They wanted that entertainment value and to be like flair bartenders, and then also get people competing on a national stage as well, whether it's cocktail comps or flair as well. So we even had like a separate flair space to work from, and we even talking about setting up our own academy because we were like, oh, this is a destination spot, so this would really work to get people out there. Essentially ripping off EBS, but it just never happened, and I think maybe it was a little bit too ahead of its time. We were like making our own block ice and stuff, and
in the Lake District, like 6-7 years ago.
Which, like, for people who don't know, like the cocktail scene is always at its most advanced in all of the major cities, and then it goes to the second cities, and then it goes to smaller towns, and then it'll end up in places like the Lake District. So if you were doing block ice 6 years ago in the Lake District, that's like doing block ice in London 25 years ago. So it's like, it's pretty far ahead. Well, so how did the opportunity for Speaking Code come?
I was looking for a route back into the city centre. So it's funny because I go back to the lakes now and I'm like, it's beautiful. Take my dog on walks and I'm like, oh man, I'd give anything to live here again. But 6 years ago I was like, man, this is boring. And look, being plant-based and living out there as well, it's just, man, it's not the vibe. Living off that Tesco falafel sandwich, it's tough. But
they're all about like the venison and steak and ale pies out there, aren't they?
Like heavy. So it was difficult, and I just missed city centre. Like I'm drawn to, actually I love nature, but I'm also drawn to tall buildings, and I saw Manchester developing. I kind of was like looking over my shoulder going, this is a developing city, like I want to get back there and experience it again and just be around like life again, and and I was doing some consultancy work at the time, so I didn't really have much free time in the lakes, but whatever time I did have, I was like, I want to be involved in developing cocktail programs. And I had this company who would just be like, every now and again be like, come teach my team how to make some drinks, or we want to start running cocktail masterclasses, can you come and like implement a program for us to do that kind of thing? Hey,
thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, bro. Go on.
All right. So we would I would just come back to Manchester every now and again, and this group that I was doing some work for just kind of said, hey, look, we have a cafe and it's struggling. We're thinking about either letting it go, or we're open to some ideas of maybe sharing the space with another business kind of thing. And I was just like, all right, let's see it. Cool. Let's see what you got. And I remember walking in there and just kind of, when you go, this is kind of awful, but amazing. I was like, you basically, you see potential, right? I was like, oh, you could make so many better decisions here, but and I was like, and that's when I was like, that's where I come in, I could help you. But then I remember then we had a conversation, and they were like, look, we're open to a few different options. If you can help us out, let's talk. And I went back home that night to the lakes, and I was thinking about some stuff on the train. And I said to my fiance Nicola, I was like, there's a place where I could potentially put a pop-up bar, right? So they don't use it in the evening. They finish up at 3, they pack up and go. So I could take over the space in the evening. That might be our route back into the city centre. And then they called me up and was like, so, have you had any thoughts? I was like, yeah. So, you said you're open to sharing the space. I was like, I think I could probably do something there as a pop-up, as a bar. How's that sound? And they're like, sounds good. So let's iron out some details. And in my mind, I was a little bit naive at the time because, I kind of rushed into it. And from that moment, Speak and Co was open 8 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's wild. So, and you can see where we are now. You see that journey of like growth and how we've had to kind of like, spend our time. It wasn't like we just threw loads of money at it and just went like, cool, here's a space, open the doors, let's go. And it's a finished thing. It's been a development over time. But I was like, right, let me open a pop-up. But we had a meeting like the next week. I went back to Manchester. I was like, right, here's my conditions. Like, there's no involvement from you. Like, just let's be clear. Like, I'm going to put this concept in. And naivety for me was that. But I was like, let's, this is my concept, my bar, like no involvement from you. I'll come in, we'll just flip the space, we'll do a bar. And then, let's work on whatever, like, profits there are, whatever, but we'll do a profit share deal, let's say, similarly to what we did with Double Down. But I didn't really know what I was talking about at the time. I just kind of, for me, I just saw stars in my eyes and went, let's go. And then, 8 weeks later, we opened the doors, man. Like, I went straight back to the lakes and I was like, boom, here's my resignation. The owner wasn't really too happy about it. It's like, I've invested a lot in you and the space. And I was like, it's just not working out. So I handed my resignation in, and then once a week or sometimes twice a week, I just get the train back to Manchester, go and like flat hunting, just start meetings with reps, basically just stockpiling and just like glassware, concepts, menu. I remember the train journeys to and from Manchester is where I wrote the first menu, and that's kind of where like, it was basically like, all right, what have I experienced so far that I like, what do I dislike, and how do I want to run this menu? And the place I was in was very focused on like puns in the cocktail names and stuff. I was like, I'm so over that. So let's not name the cocktails. They're going to be numbers. And I was like, right, cool. So I want to be a part of the community. So let's focus on like the history of Manchester. And there's like, Roman influence in Manchester. So I was like, right, cool. Let's go with Roman numerals for now. Let's just, each cocktail has a number rather than a name. And, Speak and Co, the initials are SIC. So like SIC is the, what's the term I'm looking
abbreviation.
For? But it's also, I mean, like it's, as it was written, right? So when you see sick in a
quoted as it was originally or something
quoted
like
as
that,
it was. Yeah. So the idea of the menu is that is, as it was written. So how I wrote it on the train was how it ended up in the menu book, So it was like this idea of like, as it was written, and pulled the team together, had a concept, opened, the space looked nothing like it does now. It's been a development over time, but
I know
it looked like a beg, borrow and steal bar at the start, but I think that actually held a little bit of charm for people. I think like it's nice now that 6 years down the line, people come back in and go, man, I've seen the development of the space and it's amazing. Compared to where you were as a pop-up, even one of the guys, well, actually two of the guys we have now have been coming in there since day one, and they're like, the glow up this place has had has been insane. It's super, like, it's a proud moment for me knowing that the two of us have like gone through all of that and just built that space. And now it's like, it's renowned. It's built up its value for the community. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just now got a special place. It's like a staple there in the city now. And you look from a pop-up in that first year, like never in a million years I would have expected, because I just ran into that, so you don't know what's going to come. And I think with a lot of applicants that we get, one of the questions I ask is, what's your future look like in hospitality? 98% of the bartenders who apply here, like they respond back with, I want to open my own bar. Always takes me back to going, sometimes it's like, you can plan it out for years, or you can just go and see what happens. And that was the case. It was just go and see what happens.
For sure. And we always hear that, and I always want to help people, and that's also why what I want to speak about a bit today, like giving some messages to people who want to do that, because we've both done it, and
Yeah, I think there's a dream and a reality, and you need to understand both. Not that the dream can't be like just as good as you think it's going to be, but you need to understand the reality. But tell me what's in this drink before we continue.
Sweet. So that one,
Sweet.
that one is demo 3. And again, we don't really name our drinks. So first menu was just numbers. Second menu is tracks. Third menu is demos. So you can see kind of a music theme. It's kind of a vinyl sleeve design there, and so demo 3 is we take Stauning Danish malt whiskey. We infuse that with Girol mushrooms. Then we take those mushrooms back out, and then we do a fat wash with plant-based butter.
Yeah.
Give it some texture. It's like a super savory whiskey. And then we do distilled green walnut. So in the menu, it's listed as distilled green walnut, but it's actually, and if I say this correctly, but Ratafia Lustia. So silent H, it's like a big brown bottle with a white X on it. It's actually from Catalonia. And it's a botanical spirit that's kind of meant to be, or it's dubbed as the Spanish Jägermeister. So what we do is we actually distill that through a gyrovap. So we basically pull the base spirit out, which is green walnut, and then what you're left over with is this like pretty much non-alc botanical syrup. And then we make that into a little jelly for the garnish. So the Girol washed mushrooms, Girol washed whiskey, distilled green walnut, and then we make an apricot Charente as well. So it's just apricot eau de vie, red wine, and sugar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, like the most predominant for sure. I get the umami from the mushrooms. I get the Danish whiskey, and I get the plant-based butter. I really taste that a lot.
Yeah.
The green walnut. Yeah, I mean, I get some nuttiness. I don't really know like what I'm looking for when you say green walnut, but yeah, I definitely get some like Nucello kind of vibes.
Yeah, it's so the build of it is like 3. It's actually a 3 ingredient, so it's that's probably one of the more complex builds on the menu in terms of like the process. Like there's a lot of layers there, but it's just stripped down to three ingredients. So it's the whiskey infusion, distilled green walnut, and then the apricot Charente.
Yeah,
as a 3 parts. It's like a 40, 15, 15, and then it's just batch poured. So it's batched into a bottle, freezer poured, diluted, freezer poured, minus 14.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's super nice, super rich. The texture's amazing.
Yeah. So actually, the purpose of that drink was to kind of be rich. We had a drink on the last menu which was had another form of Charente in there, and I always think it's like useful to have an extension of a drink from the previous menu, or like a sort of, if you had people that came in and said, I used to love this drink, you don't want to completely like throw them out and be like, nah, there's nothing for you. You kind of just be like, you've been before and you liked that one previously, I'm going to point you to this one, because that's kind of like a new hybrid of that one and this one, or maybe like a sort of adaptation in some way. But yeah, like the idea of like adding the Charente in there was meant to kind of give it that richness. And we have a lot of like doodles and annotations on the menu as well. So we've got a little sketch of Kendrick Lamar's face at the bottom with rich spirit.
I'll slide this bad boy out. I don't know where the camera is. I don't see it. Probably where my face is, right?
Yeah.
I do that. Yeah. No, I love this little doodle book, man. So good. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't involved in too much in the design, so I can praise it without seeming like an asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, like for me, the idea of a menu, and I've said this to you 1,000 times, but I'll say it on mic. The idea of a menu is to guide someone to their perfect drink. That's the idea of a menu. It should look good, of course. It should be nice. It should be good to hold. It should be sexy. But basically, like, if someone picks the wrong drink for themselves, that's the failure of the menu, I feel. Or maybe it's the table talk. Maybe it could be a couple of other things. But like, basically, you should be there to guide people. So what I like about this menu is like there's good color coding on there. It really like blows up important details without focusing too much on ingredients, because this is the problem now with technical menus. It's like half the ingredients we use, people don't know what they taste like, and even if they do, they don't understand what we've done with it to know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because if you say Giro mushrooms on a food menu, people go, oh yeah, I like mushrooms. Yeah, cool. You say it on a drinks menu, they're like, what are you talking about? Like how most people just don't know what to expect in that case. So you have to like tone that down. Like what are people going to get then?
So that we actually, I think you've kind of touched on it there. It's super important. Language and communication is a massive part of what we do. And it's a huge part of our training as well. Like in Speaking Code, we're very, very specific about the words that we choose to use. And even in the menu chat, we have a menu chat template, which is like, let's say, example is about 100 words. And we're very, we're very set on using those word for word, but you can still use those 100 words 2,000 ways, based on cadence, tonality, delivery, etc. But I think that communication aspect has been fundamental to our success for a long time. I think that's such a strong part in what we do because, when menus are technical and someone might come in and find it, somewhat overwhelming, it's not designed to be. And it's not designed to be to create any distance. You want to, like for us, fundamentally, we want to connect with people on a human level, for sure. So that's where it is like, you have to read the guest in a way, which is like, it's a very typical thing to say that in hospitality, like, oh, you have to read the guest and that's a skill. It is, right? But we're not afraid to just be like, that's not for you. If someone, so I give an example of like, someone comes in and sits at the bar and says, this menu, overwhelming, ingredients, I can't understand any of it, right? And we're like, okay, everything's homemade by us, right? So it's not like, this person over here passes on some information to me and I give it to you. It's like the information is me, right? So everything's been made by us. So if you come in and you're like, this menu is overwhelming and I like margaritas, I might be like, cool, well, actually, I'm just going to throw something at you which could be for you, but let's talk about it first. There's a kind of a pisco sour style drink. It's got vetiver in there. Like vetiver probably doesn't make sense to 99 people, but you give a bit of a description, kind of like white pepper and cacao. That's kind of the main things you'll get from there. They would do a distilled eucalyptus. It's super floral. It's aromatic, right? So it's like a pisco sour that's kind of peppery, aromatic, a little bit chocolatey, and you get the sourness as well, right? And if it's still you're getting like frowns, eyebrows, whatever, you just go, do you know what? Margarita. You said you like margaritas. Yeah. We're just gonna get you a margarita. You know what I mean? Like we
except we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, but we give like sign-offs. We give sign-offs all the time. So it's like if you get somebody who closes the menu, boom, I want a dirty Negroni. You're like, chill. That was ordered with confidence. Like if I can detect any sort of like anything in your tonality that tells me you're not sure about your drink choice, we're definitely gonna sign this off with a little conversation. And that is intentionally for me to try and pull out if you are actually ordering this with confidence or whether you're just seeing it and attracted by the name or whatever. And that's the thing as well, especially with classics, because with our demos, it's designed for you to actually pull apart the ingredients of the drink. So you're not ordering based on name, but you still get people who order a dirty martini because of the name. And there really is a 50-50 split of people who order a dirty martini because of the name, or ordering a dirty martini because they just love dirty martinis. And ours is great. It's made with a cured lemon and oregano brine. But
you're gonna like it. Like I had anecdote from my bartending career, which is like many years ago actually. But I remember working in a bar in Polton, like kind of an upmarket bar, like pretty expensive for the time. 3 girls come in, dressed up to the nines, like short skirts, ready to go to the club after, and they were probably early 20s, something like that. And they ordered 3 dirty martinis, and I was usually pretty astute at that kind of thing, and I would have like dug a little bit deeper, but I was getting slammed, and I just kind of thought, legends, they drink dirty martinis, fucking great. And three like mid 20-year-old girls that are drinking dirty martinis. So I made 3 dirty martinis and then like gave them to them. They like clearly didn't know what I'd just given them, and they like looked at it and they were like, this is not like the same as the one that we had like before. And then we chatted for like 5 more minutes, and I realized they were talking about French martinis. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not what this is at all. So.
And we actually we hold each other accountable in that sense as well. Like if we send a dirty martini to a table where they don't vibe with dirty martinis, we're pulling out the person who actually took that order and saying, how did you allow that to happen?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How did you actually allow it to happen? Because you should spot those, if they're like flags or whatever, like any sort of yellow flags, you should be able to detect that. Like immediately through conversation, through communication, and everything, body language, tonality. And yeah, there's an element of, and it's a bit of a, I don't know whether it's a sensitive subject to talk about necessarily, but profiling, right? You have to, I think you have to sometimes maybe be careful about the way you say it, because you're like, you don't want to judge someone. And also, especially an adult coming into your bar and in a drink, you don't want to hold someone's hand through the experience, or think that their choice is misjudged or whatever. But you still have to, just like you said, dig a little bit deeper at times.
Yeah, you have to dig, yeah.
So the way we do that is quite skilled. So I'll give you an example. Is like on our previous menu, because this one's the most glaring example, is we had a spagliato that had lacto-fermented strawberry in there, right? Yeah. So there you go. Immediately, it's like the amount of people, and it's this, if you close a menu and go, spagliato, you're like, yeah, you wouldn't order that drink and pronounce the name correctly. Well, hopefully correctly. If you weren't confident about that choice or you had it before, right? But if you do this to me and go, can I
get the Spagliato?
Yeah, so you're like, oh, sweet. So and our sign off is like, it's positively affirming that choice by saying, oh, sick. So you're a fan of Negronis in general, and whatever. And if they go, oh no, like, oh, so you Negroni, like quite like bittersweet. You cool with Negronis? And they go, oh no, I don't like Negronis. Oh, what about Aperol Spritz? Because this is kind of like an Aperol Spritz, but more bitter. No, I don't like Aperol Spritz. All right, well, what is it about that drink that stood out for you then? Oh, strawberry. Yeah. Okay, so strawberries, they're fermented, they're more savory. It's a small part. It's put into an Amaro, which is bitter, right? So now that you said strawberry, are you actually looking for something a little bit more like softer, more like berry, fruity, whatever? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Sweet, that one's for you.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by like, like it'll never be perfect, but like that's what I kind of mean by like a failure of a menu. Like, like if you write like it, maybe there's no perfect menu, but if you write lacto-fermented strawberries on a menu and people then read that, because generally people are scanning a menu for things they recognize, and they're going to, because they haven't got time, they're busy, they're distracted, they've got friends there, they're just scanning for words they recognize rather than reading full descriptions. Like no one reads the full menu and then goes, okay, like let's think about my decision. They go, strawberry, boom, that'll do. Strawberry, that one. And then you have to like, lead them through it. So maybe like, that's where like flavor descriptors and all kinds of things. You have to think about the psychology like quite a lot.
And you've done some pieces on menu psychology as well. So we hold a lot of value in that. And I think as well, it's like, it's two things here. For one, like you might intentionally want to write that there's something lacto-fermented on your menu, because people who are more like, interested in the processes might pick up on that and go, yeah, cool. Probably the majority of people aren't, right? So, but then if you do something like bitter strawberry, that might change the way people perceive that immediately. So if it's like, if the description is that it's bitter strawberry, you might be lent away from it a little bit more, because that's essentially what it is. You lacto-fermented strawberries, then they're dried out and then they're put into an Amaro. Yeah. So then it's like, it's bitter strawberry, right? So, or strawberry bitter, for example. But yeah, it's a careful balance, and I think, like you said, there's almost like no perfect way of doing it, but sometimes you just kind of have to try to make it as easy as possible to read, but then also like tease some techniques, and do you know what I mean? Because you want if you're proud of the techniques that you're using, you want to at least be able to put that in there and showcase. Because I think that the way hospitality is moving now, I think there's no real separation and distance between all of those like global presence, like huge name bars anymore. I think there are a lot of like bars with less budgets, so to speak, doing, they have incredible capabilities now. So I think, and there's so many bars that are process driven as well, including us now, where it's like, people are becoming a little bit more savvy to it, and you want to, the amount of people now where we can sit and talk them through distillation and give them little tasters, and how many people are interested in our carbonation process and stuff. You're like, wow, it's like really shifting. So
well, I think like this is interesting. It's becoming more and more interesting to me year on year. Like that we do good drinks. I think I think we have honestly like some really banging drinks, and people keep coming back for them. I think they're super rich and always tasty. And most people, let's be honest, like most people who know us but haven't been in, they just know us from Instagram. So they just know our drinks, and that's kind of like how we can show ourselves to the world. And you can kind of show your processes a little bit, and to some degree you can show your team. Like you can say, oh, like this is Ben, this is whatever. But what you definitely can't show unless you visit the venue, which I think we do really well, that I'm maybe as proud of as the menu, is the service and the customer experience. Because that's like, not only is it difficult to show that online, it's also very subjective and difficult to lock down, and it's a very easy thing to pass on. It's a very easy thing to just like drop back and go, oh, that's good enough, you know, like because everyone will always take the path of least resistance if you don't push them. And really soft skills like customer experience, like, and this is something I think you do really well, is like, you know, like you control menu chats, and like if you feel like someone spent a little bit too long, a little bit too short, you didn't like their tone at the table, you felt they could have guided people better, you're on it, like, and that's something which I think can really separate like the great bars from the good bars. Like not that everybody needs to do that, but with a menu like that, they definitely do, you know, like you have to walk people through that menu. There's no way to write that for everybody, because everybody's different. You know, we definitely get bartenders in who need all the information, and then you get people in who just need to be guided to a great tasting drink, and they don't care about the process. And then there's people who are there to learn, but they don't know much. And there's so many different styles, but managing that is really difficult, because you need really adaptable staff. You need like very adaptable training programs. You can't just tick a box and say, okay, yeah, we've got that now. It's like constant, it's always going to be there. It's not like writing down, you know, like a batch list for a cocktail or whatever, like that's very objective. And once it's done, it's done. It's like, no, you're always progressing at that. You'll always have to manage it. And it'll never go away. It'll never get easier. There's no economies of scale for it. You just have to keep doing it again and again and again and again for every single customer who walks through the door. And I think a lot of people will bail out at some point and just go, okay, just give them the menu and walk away, because that's what scales. Nothing else. Like, there's no 50 chain bar who does a menu talk at a table for 1 minute like we do at ours, and like many great bars do.
No, I fully agree, and it's listen, I've experienced over time that it is tricky to manage, and you need the correct support system, and it's about aligning everybody, making sure that everybody understands your service goals. You know, I think that's something we've probably, rather than it being laid out on day one, we figured out over time. You have to read the room and be adaptable. Then that is one of the key things I've learned over time, is to be adaptable. But I think, I don't know what I expected after 6 years of being in service. I don't know whether, it's funny because I always talk about the term retirement, right? So me being in service for so long, especially for the first like 3-4 years, where I was like, you know, locked in almost every day, being a part of service. But then when your business scales up and you realize that you need more management in more areas, and then, you know, people want to do collaborations, you've got projects to work on, you know, we're making our own beers and wines and spirits now and everything. It's like, it's growing. You're like, okay, cool. Well, our attention span needs to grow as well. We need to put our, you know, attention into other areas. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if 6 years down the line I'd be fully removed from service, but it's really important now, and everybody, including guests, sees the value of me being there. I think like people coming on a weekend who've been coming for a long time, when they find out, or if they visit the website, the website. Oh. Where they find out they visited the website and seeing like I'm one of the owners, and then they come back and they go, oh, it's so nice that you're here on the door greeting us and taking us to our table, and then I'm leading them into the team, if that makes sense. So like subliminally, all the way that all looks is I'm greeting them in the venue, I seat them at a table, one of the team takes over and runs them through the whole thing, and it's like I believe the team we have now is capable of some incredible things, and it's a nice handover. Like I see some of the team now and I go, do you know what? Like I might have set the path, but I'm looking at some of these guys now who are like 21 and going, I don't think I could give the level, like, you know, maybe it's an age thing, or maybe because I'm, you know.
Oh, but I'm just, you know, like I definitely used to consider myself a capable bartender. I'll say I'll go that far. But yeah, like I can't provide what the guys are providing now.
Yeah, it's and you know it could be anyone in the bar, and I think we're all fully aligned on what we want out of this and how to communicate with tables. There's nobody kind of like, no, my way is better, no, this way is better. It's like we have this way, and that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about there, about laying that path out and saying that this is the right thing to do. This is the, you know, and there's an element of like, look, trust the experience. This is the direction we're gonna go. And everybody's gonna be better for it. Like, guarantee whether you see the light or not yet, but stick to this plan and you'll be better coming out of it. And I think like even one of our newest guys, been there 6 weeks, has just wrote our menu template, and he actually worked in linguistics. So when we hired him, we're like, you probably help out at some point in the future, you know, because communication is such a big thing for us. But I didn't expect him to get so involved so quick. But since we have a new menu and we're like, right, so we need to figure out what's the best delivery to help people understand a few key points. And this is kind of, for me, the framework has always been a few key points. Small plates, small team, pretty much everything's homemade. We're here to help, right? So framing the menu chat around that. Let's say we built on that, and we found a way that works perfectly where we can kind of get across the messaging of like, yeah, we are a small team, most things are homemade, and we are all here for you. So any questions that you might have, you don't need to, you know, it doesn't just lie with me. You can grab anyone, and we'll have the same amount of conversation. And also, everything that gets brought to your table has been made by the people bringing it to your table, right? Because how many times you've been in a place where there's disconnect, where you go, oh, sorry, man, but I've got an issue with the food here. And the person goes, oh, let me go speak to the chef, right? Or I've got an issue with this drink. Oh, let me go speak to the bartender. And there's like levels where there's a sort of a middle person who, and the middle person is always usually the one who gets the biggest tip.
And that's right? Actually a pretty good response. You know, that's not like, you know, sometimes they can just look at you like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
But
cool. So is that it? Cool. See you later.
So then I was like, right, I want none of this. So when we open Speaking Code, it's everything that's brought to your table has been made by the people who are bringing it to your table. So if there's an issue with the thing, it's like, speak to me. Like, oh, sorry, man, but I got an issue with the drink. Cool, let's talk about it, because I'm the one who made it. You know, and I'm not just made it as in, right, brandy, whatever. It's all of the distillation, the fat wash, the infusion, the homemade liqueur.
Yeah,
I physically made all of those things. So let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's delve into what might not be working for you, and you know.
Yeah, and you know, like a little bit of a tangent, a side note, but not that I think we have too many of those scenarios, but how you deal, you know, this is like just good advice for anyone coming up and anyone like looking at opening a bar or even just being a bartender, how you deal with a complaint, even if it's not, it might not even be a full complaint, but an issue, a small niggle, or like anything. Like how you deal with that can provide more loyalty than a perfect service. You know, someone can come in and have a perfect service, flawless. All the drinks come in perfect time. You know, the menu chat was perfect. Like they had a great time. They had a nice night. They go and they might tell a couple of people the next day, oh, it's pretty good in Speaking Code or whatever. Like if they come and they complain about a drink and you absolutely smash the resolution, they will come back 100 times, you know, versus the time that was perfect. And actually, what's the difference? The difference is there was a problem, but you solved it really well because you cared. And that can be way more powerful than having flawless service.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have some views on this. I have some big views on this. And I think over the last couple of days, I think I've had some really interesting conversations with some local bartenders about this as well, because it's all about conditioning in hospitality, right? And I think for the most part in hospitality, you're conditioned to yes sir, no sir, guest is always right, and I'm even at times be an apologist, right? Listen, you sent out the perfect version of the drink, but the person doesn't like it, and you apologize. It's like, not really got anything to apologize for, unless maybe you know, whatever, if there's a mistake along the way, or if you insisted. You know, you drink gin and tonic,
pushed them into
but I'm going to get you a distilled green walnut and Giraud mushroom drink, right? Then it's like, okay, look, man, my bad. Maybe I recommended the wrong drink for you, but I think we're conditioned to be like, you know, apologists. But I think we, at Speaking Code, we kind of approach things as a creator. I take a lot of values from my music background and apply it to where we are now and in hospitality. And when you made music, you didn't necessarily think about the person afterwards when you were making the music. You just made the music, and it was a passion thing, and you know, it felt right. And look, you know, we knew we were good at what we did. And then we presented it to people, and people came, and you focused on the ones that, you know, enjoy what you do. not to say the ones who didn't enjoy it didn't matter necessarily, but it's like, okay, well, we have a fan base. Let's speak about fan base. And then in hospitality, you're kind of expected to people please on all levels. And I think from us approaching our work as creators, we can be a little bit more open and honest at tables and more transparent about things. And instead of just being that immediate apologist, when that apology is necessary, right? But I think you're conditioned to almost be an apologist in almost any scenario of like an issue. But actually, when you have this, like, listen, let's talk. I'm here in this venue. Everyone's involved in all aspects of it. So whatever the issue might be, I'm pretty sure I'm involved in some way. So let's open it up and let's talk. What didn't quite work for you? Whether it's a wrong recommendation or whatever. And then we always go with an amendment first. So our first port of call is just like, let's make an amendment for you, And I think that that's appreciated by a lot of people. That it's like, listen, we want to. It's typical British to be sitting with something and say it's fine when it's not fine,
Yeah.
And it's about and that it comes back to reading a guest, but then there's like levels of reading a guest too, where it's like, man, like I'm that guy in the room who will be like scanning a room, and I'll just say to someone, and I remember as well, like you've spoke about that. Having my finger on the pulse and kind of like managing every scenario down to the detail of it, tonality of a menu chat, and picking up on it, because I've had people come through the building as team members and say it's overbearing, but I'm like, well, sorry man, but we've got where we have what's the word I'm looking for, but like a very high standard for first and foremost, but also in terms of feedback. I think we're up there with some of the best, and we have a very high like Google rating as well. And I think that comes a lot down to how we manage scenarios at tables. And for me, being that eyes on in a room and taking an overview and seeing like just kind of getting a read and seeing someone might throw a certain facial expression when they drink a drink, and they kind of, there's like you'd see that. You'd say go do a meaningful check back on table 2, because I get an indication.
Is that what you say? That's the language you use. Yeah. Meaningful check back.
Go do a meaningful check back on table 2. And listen, all checkbacks should be meaningful anyway, right? But you just want to emphasize the point. So just
but you're right.
It kind of means a little bit more like, hey, go do a meaningful check back on table 2. I get the feeling she might not be vibing with that drink.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit more than all good. It's like, hey, just want to check in. Like,
So it's more targeted and intentional. So like you got a table that they've been vibing, they love it. First round of drinks went down really well. Second round of drinks comes and you go back and you go, second round, all good. Like how you getting on? We get down at tables and we, it's never a drive by like all good, because you want to get a read.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking after those tables as well, you want to get a full read. But yeah, if somebody's
because I actually think like, and I'm just thinking out loud, but if someone checks back on the table and they say all good, and then they're almost walking away as you walk away, you've got no choice but to say because you're kind of shocked by you haven't got like enough seconds to like absorb the question, because they just dragged you out of a conversation. So you need to have like a meaningful check back.
Well, one of the key things, I guess, one of the main, let's say if somebody we've narrowed down the amount of sendbacks. When you launch a new menu, you might get some sendbacks because you're like, all right, we need to figure out whether it's either a balancing issue, but we never.
And it can be a failure. Sorry to cut you off, but it can be a failure. It could be a failure of the drinks because you launched a new menu and maybe you haven't quite figured out the balance yet. But it's more likely, and I think more often with us, it's not a failure of the drinks; it's a failure of the menu chat and the guidance.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Right. Yeah, 100%. So when you figured all of that out, and you have got all of your flavor descriptors, your general menu chat down, and how to kind of say, if a person kind of sits in this lane with what type of drink they like, these are the options for them, right? Then you'll kind of you'll get this sense of, I know how to manage that situation. But it's an interesting one because we know the risk you can take when you do a menu which is not focused on classic cocktails, whatever, your kind of more original creations. So every person walking through that door is like a challenge, in a way, but we're more than confident and comfortable in what we do, and I think we've built up this reputation over time where it's like cool, and there's diversity in our city as well now. So if you go on good classics, you'll go to a certain bar, you go seasonal drinks, you go to another bar, and then we're like pretty well known now for our sort of original takes. And it's cultivating an environment. That's one of the key things there. We've cultivated this environment through our language, communication, visuals, and keeping each other accountable, not allowing you know. And then, again, going down to these like meaningful checkbacks, like intentionally reading a room as much as possible. And I think one of the more frequent things that comes up is strength, ABV, right? So
like people asking about it, you mean?
No, just more like, it's a bit stronger than I expected, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's more of a psychological thing. I think because if you know you're ordering an old fashioned and a Manhattan and classic cocktails that sit in the lane, like a Sazerac, right? You kind of already have this understanding that the ABV is high. And even though we put indicators next to any drink on our menu that is strong, so it's like an S symbol in a bracket, and our menu chat is, you know, any cocktail that you see that has this little S indicator next to it, signifies it's more spirit-led. Even the communication around how we say spirit-led. Spirit forward, we remove. We've said spirit forward before, we said remove that, you know? That doesn't translate. You know, you have to kind of say what's universal language, what translates. Spirit-led, I think, works most of the time, but if just say stronger. Do you know what I mean?
Strong as fuck.
Yeah, so for the most part, you have to kind of just say to people, like, that little S symbol there. And I think with me, we've kind of moved towards a bit more of a uniform chat anyway. But when the menu first launched, and I was like, that S symbol there, it just means the drinks are more spirit led. So if you like drinking your spirits neat, you know, that was just like, it's like what cuts through everything else.
Yeah.
What do people understand? And even as far as like, if someone says, I'm going to give you a run through of the menu, like we've cut that out. It's information on the menu because information is understood by everybody. The English language is not your strong suit. It's not your first language. You understand the word information, right? It's you're in a new city. You look for an information desk if you're a tourist. So rather than say, I'm just going to give you a run through the menu because you might have just said a bunch of words with a certain speed and a certain tonality that goes over someone's head. But if I put a menu in front of you and I say, I'm just going to give you some information on the menu, you might have missed almost every other word I said other than information. But then you know, I'm here, you're there, a menu's in front of you, and I've said the word information. So I'm about to give you some information. So at least you know you can kind of lock in a little bit and go, right, I'll try and follow this, but you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, it raises like an interesting industry point, and I wonder how much people really think about it. And my guess is, I don't know. It's hard to say. I was going to say my guess is not that much because of my guest experience in some places, but I think I'm probably treated not the same as your average guest because most bars I go to, like we either know each other through the industry or they at least know that I'm in the industry, and it's like they maybe just go, you know, they maybe just give me the light version, but. If you think like you could create like, you know, like drink 1 that's 10 out of 10 for Joe and drink 2 that's 10 out of 10 for Adam. But if you give drink 2 to Joe and drink 1 to Adam and it's both 5 out of 10, then you've just created like 2 amazing drinks, but given them to the wrong people. So therefore you've kind of just created 2 5 out of 10s. So like the whole process of creating a fucking banging menu is lost if you can't connect them to the right people. So yeah, like, that art form should be pushed more. It should be trained more. Should be understood more. But it's because it's not as sexy, and it's like, and it's more of a soft skill, and it's more subjective, and it's very difficult to call people on doing it well or doing it good, doing it bad. You know, like you know, if like someone like doesn't connect someone to the right drink, it's like really hard to pull someone aside. And this is why I was saying, this is why I think you're pretty good at, is like you pull someone aside, like, I think you could have connected them to a better drink. Whereas that's kind of like, it's a bit of a ballsy thing to say sometimes because like you can't prove that. You can't objectively say it. You can tell someone when a drink is unbalanced because you can trust your palate. It's fair. It's more objective. But to call someone and say like, hey, they got a lacto fermented strawberry drink because you didn't like clock that they were focusing on the word strawberry and not the word lacto fermented, and that's your fault a little bit. Like, you know, not to call anyone out, but just to make them better. I think that's important.
I think we kind of run this fairly intense. I don't know whether you'd say it's an intense environment there at Speaking Code. Anyway, it's just because we're not afraid to dig deep for each other. Yeah, we're not afraid to hold each other accountable.
All in love.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's an everybody thing. Even for me, like 2 weeks ago, the newest guy, been at the bar for 6 weeks. I'm hosting, right? So I essentially when I'm hosting, I've got free time. I bust tables and I reset tables, and he just goes, Nathan, put the beer and wine cards behind the menus for me I'm like, cool, got it, you know.
Yeah.
So we and to have an environment where they're not afraid to say that to me as well, you know, like it's we keep each other accountable for sure.
That's good. What am I drinking?
I think that one is the collective favorite between the bartenders on the menu. And it's interesting topically because when we do our training, you generally do a training sign off. So it's a 3-month training period, but actually 4 to 5 weeks one-on-one. And then there's like a 7 or 8 week period of where you kind of just, you're solo, you're on the schedule just as a member of the team with some minimal guidance. And then at the end of the 3 months, you'll come in and do a full day of testing where you do like company values tests, spec tests, and you'll do a drink demonstration as well. So in that 7 to 8 week period, we ask you to go away and R&D 3 drinks that you believe would fit on a Speak and Code menu. And to see if you understand the brief. You know, we lay out some framework for you, and you come back, present us 3 drinks. And then with that as well, you do some on-menu drinks as well, and we just kind of video it, and we sit down afterwards and basically pull apart your technique, give you some feedback to go away with. And this one was presented in a drink demonstration. And the original version of this, so it's Sotol, fig leaf cordial, and then Mastija and tobacco liqueur as well. And I remember just tasting the drink, and I was like, I heard the story and I heard the direction, and I was like, I'm just a little bit confused. I can't make the connection. Like this, it's just too many things pulling in different directions. It's too many things competing against each other. So my feedback was pull the tobacco, pull the Mastija, and let's focus on there's 2 things we need to focus on there: Sotol and fig leaf, because that combination is unbelievable. It's
the fig leaf is so good, man.
And it's an absurd amount of fig leaf in there as well.
But I can taste.
We went right. So
but you need it, right? Like fig leaf's like super subtle otherwise.
So we took away the Mastija, we took away the tobacco, and then in doing that, there was an Amontillado in there as well, but the Amontillado was in the fig leaf cordial, right? So we said, hang on, let's help all 3 of these parts shine in their own way without competing against each other. So it's just a base of Sotol. Fig leaf cordial is we do a coconut yogurt washed water, coffee filter that out, and then we do separately, we juice oranges and then we centrifuge the oranges so it clarifies that. You put that with the coconut yogurt water, fig leaf, lactic acid, malic acid, and then there's an Amontillado in there as well, which gives it a nuttiness. So on paper, it's Sotol, fig leaf, and then recomposed orange and Amontillado. Yeah. And the flavor is like, it's like praline, chocolate, like... Yeah,
I was getting like white chocolate, and I was like, where's the white chocolate coming from? I don't get it.
And that's it. I mean, it's one of those drinks where it's like, I don't know, on paper, you're like, okay, how do I figure this out, you know? But yeah, when you get it, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, and the orange, the clarified orange, because I've had this drink before, but then I had 7 more, and I don't remember what happened that night. But yeah, I was getting the orange, but I was like, is that coming just from that zest? Because there's not orange juice in there, but yeah, I get that clarified orange juice coming through. It's like, it's super distant though. It's nice. It's like just hanging out in the background.
I think that, so the first drink that you had there with the Girol mushroom, I think is probably one of our more like technically, I don't want to say technically advanced, but especially on paper and then flavor wise as well, you're like, okay, cool. Like it's very specific. It meets specific needs rather than like an everybody banger.
The Oriole crowd.
Yeah. But then this one I think is more symbolic of like the rest of the menu and directionally which way we go, you know. It's like simple, it's effective, whether I'd use the term minimalist or not in its appearance, you know, the glass we serve is beautiful frosted glass, and then just a small orange coin on top of the ice block. And I think directionally that kind of tells a lot about who we are stylistically.
Yeah. How would you say this menu? Because this is a good point, like, and something I notice a lot, because we hung on the last menu for quite a while. We had the last menu for what, like 2.5, 3 years almost.
2.5, which is
which is like, it was a great menu, and it was like it could hold up to that, but there was a couple of drinks on there which were maybe visually and texturally like a year or two out of date, like, or maybe a year out of date, like by the time we got to the end. And I feel this menu is like way more grown up and current, and obviously we got some new toys because we we've been spending all the money that we got, and a few brands helped us out as well. But so what would you say like the differences between this menu and the last menu?
It's just more mature. Yeah, it's more mature. It's more relevant. And if like I think as a team we really do keep our eye on what's happening in the industry, keep our finger on the pulse. So we do a newsletter every week where we send out. I mean, obviously you've seen the newsletter, but just for anyone listening, it's I send out a questionnaire to the team. Not everyone, but just I'll choose a few members of the team to fill it out. Like it's a commitment that you make to be a part of the feedback loop. It's what we do well, what we've done well in the previous week, what we need to improve. Anything bar standard wise. So bar standards is more related to like, do you physically see something, a practice on the bar which doesn't suit or is out of place that we need to pull away from? Just like being too loud, like dumping your ice too hard in the sink, that kind of thing. Because we're very conscious of our noise impact. You know, we even wrap rubber bands around our strainers so it doesn't make a sound when we're tapping.
I know. Yeah, I mean, for people listening, the amount of chat that we have between us about very small things that certainly no one outside of the industry would notice, and I would say like quite a lot of people inside the industry might not even notice as well, but it'll all come through in the subliminal, which is like very tight movement on the bar, not spreading out too much, not shaking in certain ways, not tapping open our shakers, like pushing them open, loads of these little things that go into our that I imagine like people might think just stylistically come from nowhere conscious, but it's not true. Like it really is conscious. Like we tell people, don't open your shakers like this, don't shake like this, don't move like this, like while giving people a little bit of creative freedom, but not that much. You're like, like this is what it means to be a sick bartender. Like we move like this, we talk like this, we move around the room like this, we work together like this, we hold each other accountable like this, and it's all very conscious. And it's like the the maximum sort of like, we always talk about swan theory, which is like a very like hospitality thing, like and this is the extreme example of that, like all those things that no one is even noticing, as at least not as a conscious thing. They just think, oh, that's just how they do it here, and it's like, hey, you don't understand the work that goes into making it like that. Actually,
just on that as well, it's like we've had many conversations before where people come into the building, and even in interviews we say like, look, we lay out some expectations. We say we don't double shake, we don't tap our tins, we don't, like. We've been to bars where you see bartenders practicing Muay Thai with the tins, and you're like, wow, man, it's so much, so intrusive.
Certainly don't dump ice and just let it hit the stainless.
Yeah, you lay your tin out in the sink, and then you basically just tilt so the ice falls out. Yeah, right? Every time, 100% of the time. And you see bartenders like sometimes roll their eyes in an interview and be like, you don't double shake, and you're like, no, you're not diluting those two drinks in the same way. Like I promise you're not. At least I know some people who can, and I know people who can, but for the most part, it's like we don't practice that because it's not consistent enough, and we want the most consistent thing every single time, right? So that, along with a lot of other things, but it's all very intentional. But in terms of the menu and directionally, we're more process driven now. Like you said, we have more equipment, but I think we're kind of we were talking about the newsletter as well. Sorry, and part of that is sick discoveries. So we post a little section in the newsletter which is like a discovery, whether it's a new piece of equipment, a new bar to check out, someone who's got a great digital presence, or someone who's using certain techniques, like Birdie, for example, in Melbourne, I think it is. You look at them and just go, everything's stunning. Drink style, visually, like concepts, stunning. And just for us to be like, cool, let's pay attention, let's keep interest, let's have our finger on the pulse like that. And I just feel like you said, some of the stuff we were doing visually, texturally was a little bit outdated now. And I think that, we're moving with modern palettes, and our drinks might be more spirit led, or 60 to 70% of our menu is freezer pour, and it's quick, it's efficient. We've made it too easy on ourselves a little bit now. We've got
but it's consistent.
No, it's just it's we actually now, like, we've got 2 bar stations, and the first like 5-6 weeks of the menu, we just had 1 station open on the weekend because it was manageable. So someone would be like expediting, and then we were like, I think we need to open the second station again, just so there's 2 bartenders, just to have more engagement around the bar and more of an atmosphere around the bar. So we did it again, and it's better this way. It's better because you actually relieve more pressure. But yeah, I think now, like, yeah, we've got more time to talk to people, which is great, first and foremost. But yeah, a lot of our drinks are more spirit led, but I think the modern palate is becoming a bit more accustomed and used to things. But actually, I think like what the next step for us calls for more focus on those techniques and more, not necessarily education, but more insight into those techniques. Because when you put it all on paper for a menu and you can deliver it in a chat, but you can't see it, you just, you believe and you trust, and everything you'll receive from us at a table, enables you to trust us and say, cool, I'm in good hands. But like, we're there saying, we distill like 8 things on our menu, but you can't see it, So I think the next stage for us is to kind of have potentially where we can kind of display a few more things.
Yeah.
We're giving out more tasters now, and I just think there's more visual information in the menu, and I just think as well there's more information in the room as well. So like, we are every now and again, we do a space Raiders distillate, for anyone who's non-UK based. It's a alien head chip. It tastes like pickled onion, and we distill it and we make a Gibson from it as well. And it's things like that where people are like, whoa, and we're like, cool, taste it. It's a little bit of a distillate. So yeah, our drinks are more refined. That's a good word actually I'm probably looking for. It's just more refined. I think, previous menu, we were doing like little donut garnishes, and yeah, I think we got a little bit tired of it, to be honest. It's like, things have moved on from this, and yeah, there's a lot more refinement about what we're doing now.
Yeah, but I think we were... Yeah, I remember the final push for the new menu, and you were hustling, and it's not easy to get that last bit over the line, and it can be tempting. Maybe not tempting, but maybe you can kind of convince yourself and settle for a couple of drinks. And I don't think we've settled for anything. No. Nothing has been settled on. Like, and I remember some of our development sessions, which were like everything has to go into one of 3 bins, which were like, I'm gonna misquote, but like it was like no needs work or absolute banger.
Yeah,
like,
it was
something like that.
It was graveyard, needs development, and certified banger.
Certified banger. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the presentation is like, look, if it tried it didn't work, and at this level anyway, you shouldn't really be getting to a point where you try something that doesn't work, right? But I think sometimes you are just in a little bit of like, I just really want to try and make these 2 things work. If it's like, for whatever reason, if it's like, hey, even if it's okay, but maybe it's too challenging for a guest palate, yeah, it's in the bin immediately. Yeah. But then there's like, yeah, needs development. And again, like that one you're drinking right now would have been in the needs development category because it had the Mastilla and the tobacco. But take it out, goes into the certified banger category. Banger. Yeah. And we I'm the guy that's always going to tell people to be accessible. Yeah. And there's a bit of a running joke. Actually, immediately when I saw the fruit and veg order that got placed yesterday, I immediately opened it up on an email because I know who was on prep, and I'm just
burning them.
We have a good dynamic of like back and forth. And I saw blackberries on there. We don't use blackberries on the menu, right? So I saw the order go through. I saw the email come through. I was being placed a new order. I immediately opened it up. Within like 10 seconds, I sent him a Facebook message on blackberries with a question mark, and he was like, "Yeah, it's for someone's R&D." It got signed off by a senior. I was like, "I'm just pulling you like, man, it's all good." It's like, but I was like,
you gotta let them know you're watching though. Huh?
But I was like, because I always just think keep it simple, right? So and like whenever anyone's going through their build up to their drink development session, I'm just the guy who'll pop his head in the room out of nowhere and go, keeping it simple. And because you'll see like all kind of berries from all over the world, and it's like it's cool to do that. So I don't mind, like do whatever whatever. Just make it accessible, make it good, whatever, and don't intimidate people. Just accessibility has to play a massive part. And I'm just like getting in people's heads, being like, keeping it simple. So I sent these. I was like blackberries. It's like, hey, if someone's R&D, I'm like, nah, cool. I'm just messing with you, but I can see they're keeping it simple. I like it, whatever. It's like, oh, keeping it simple. But yeah, accessibility is a massive part for me. It's like, yeah, it's cool. You want to play around with challenging ingredients or whatever. Like, but at the same time, I'm doing a talk in London in a couple of weeks, and one of the like the slides in the presentation, it's house drinks versus classics, that kind of the topic, and one of my slides is going to be titled "What the fuck is kukicha?" Because it's like, if you're going to jam these things into your menu, you want to use these ingredients. How do you make that relatable to someone? How do you make it accessible?
For
you
sure,
can't just throw it at them and be like, take my kukicha. You're like,
take my kukicha.
Yeah, you gotta be like, all right, I'm gonna convince you that I made this into something that is gonna work for you, not for me, for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we just do a kukicha distillate. We just do a kukicha distillate, and we put it with cacao blanc, and it just makes it essentially tastes like nori, right? So you put that with cacao blanc, and it's just like a seaweed chocolate liqueur. You know what I mean? So and that's something anyone can get behind. Do you know what I mean? Just trust the process, taste it, it's all good. But I'm the guy who'll sit on drink development sessions just saying, tone it down, like accessibility, keep it simple.
I've flipped between like a few different modes on this, right? Like, so like I used to like maybe be a little bit like I used to maybe stereotype like a crowd, a market. They say, okay, like this bar is here in Manchester, they don't know what kukicha is, so we're gonna tell them, like, we're gonna give them a flavor descriptor instead, or whatever. Like. And then I flipped the other way and went, no, don't be condescending. You don't know that they don't know what kukicha is. Maybe they do know what kukicha is. And then I go the other way and I'm like, just put it on the menu and then they can figure it out. And now I'm like very much in between. I'm like a balance. It's like, there's going to be some that know, there's some that don't. You have to prepare for both. And you have to know, like same with the menu chat, you have to know how to hold everyone's hand the right amount for them. And I suppose the dichotomy that I have is, because my thing, as you probably know, is always like, how does it scale? Like, how do we do this like at scale? Like we can't possibly go to every table and tell people what kukicha is, for example. I mean, it's just a bad example. But actually, maybe that is the only way. Maybe it's like, maybe you do put it on the menu. You also give a little tip to what it might be, and then you have to manage. You have to just manpower it. You just have to like go, okay, like when you go to the table, maybe not, you're going to explain what kukicha is to every single guest who walks in the door, like a kukicha rep. But
sometimes the best way is just to give a sample as well, to be like, if
they're interested,
if you can't land it within like the first sentence or two, to kind of just give someone a bit more confidence of what they're about to order, just be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to go grab a sample of the cure for you, I'm going to pop back and taste it, right?
Sounds expensive.
And then but you kind of mentioned two things to me like fairly recently as well, which I think are important. Is you kind of said this thing where you said, if you're trying to hold a guest's hand through the whole experience, like it's actually, you want the experience for yourself, not them.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you're trying to do that yourself without it being necessarily called for. But then the other one, we spoke about menu chats and the sign off, and you always have to kind of like approach things in a humble way. And for me, it's always been the sign off for the menu is like, look, and again, just to remind you, small team here, pretty much everything's homemade. So if you do have any questions, we're here for you. We're happy to help. And for me, it's that, like, here for you, happy to help. Like that needs to be understood. And we've kind of gone through these, like, every now and again, some might think it'd be better to tell someone to ask questions, be like, so we encourage you to ask questions, or signing off with like, so get your questions ready, we'll be back with you. And that's just too much for me. It's like, you don't want to load someone up. You might as well give someone a notepad at the table, and be like, right, load me up, I'm going to come back and I'm going to answer your questions. It's like, you don't want to put that on someone and be like, we're all adults here, if you have questions, that's up to you. If you want to go into something as well and you don't have much confidence, but you don't know to ask questions about it because you're like, I don't want to be that person, cool, that's your decision to make. I'm not going to make that decision for you, but I'm going to let you know for sure, have some confidence in me. Like, if you do need help, I'm here for you.
You know the menu inside and out and all the ingredients, so you can help them. And maybe some people just don't. They don't want to read everything.
For sure.
They just don't want to get that deep.
It's past 10 o'clock. No one wants to read a menu, so we're prepared for that. Honestly, vibe shift in the room.
Even me, who's like super interested in that stuff. I get a few drinks into a menu, and usually, like, especially if I've had like 2 drinks or anything after that, I'm already chatting to, like, I'm chatty now, like, so I'm like chatting to the person I'm with.
Yeah.
And if like you give me a menu, I'm like, yeah. And I have a quick glance down and I'm still trying to hold a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like getting like the odd word every 30 seconds or something and like not really doing anything. And sometimes you look at a menu for 20 seconds and you like look up and you go, oh, I didn't actually read anything.
Yeah.
I just looked like at the staples in the middle or something, you know, you have no idea what's going on.
The person I was with I met and was chatting to in Sips yesterday was basically just basing all of their orders off an adaptation of the drink they just had. So I had this drink, can I have something more sour? And then, cool, that comes out, and then not looking at the menu at all, but after that, I like this one, but stronger, less sour, you know, and all the orders were based off that. And it's interesting, the dynamic of, you know, not everyone's going to be that person who comes in and reads your menu entirely. So you've got to read it also.
Yeah, I want to talk about partnership a little bit, like our partnership and what it's like to be in a partnership and run a business together. And I suppose like the actual, I don't know whether I'd call it an art, but the actual process of running a business versus what people might expect, because I imagine a bunch of people listening will have this in their future, or at least have this in their mind. So let's start at the beginning. Like, how did what's your memory of how we met, or at least in terms of becoming partners?
So how we met and becoming partners was like separate, because I know that we knew each other from EBS. You the guy who came and grilled me. For
did I grill you?
Yeah, but
EBS Manchester.
But being an instructor, and I was like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, but you're just gonna come and test me. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. And then, but then, no, in terms of meeting for Speaking Code, I'm gonna be honest, I probably never expressed this to you, but I felt that maybe there was already a preconceived like idea of what you were going to do. I don't know, like whether you wanted to come into Speaking Code originally and maybe like open that door. But in my mind, I was like, you know, it was kind of perfect timing. Like I was like, I'm struggling here, like to do this alone. But not only that, but the cafe that was there in the daytime. So I was a pop-up, just to kind of take you back. But like being a pop-up in an environment where the business who were kind of using it in the daytime was so untenable. Like it's so difficult to work with. Like you're talking like a plant-based cocktail bar operating in a traditional greasy spoon, like fish and chip shop kind of cafe. Yeah. And you're coming at like 6 o'clock. And then the person who is handing the space over to you basically is like, oh, by the way, I had to use your fryer for my fish today. And you're like, man, like, I didn't plan to come here today and have to deep clean my fryer. Like I deep cleaned it yesterday. I didn't plan to come here today and deep clean it again because you used it for fish. Like we're a plant-based bar. I understand this. You can't like, but it was a separation of like, we cared about what we did and they just didn't, you know, and that was simply that. And I was like, I already started to look for other spaces and look for other options basically. I was like, oh man, I can't do this here. Like it's difficult. And then it was around that time, you just, I don't know, I can't remember, you maybe sent me a message and you're like, what's good? Like I'm coming to Manchester, I'm looking at some spaces. I want to see what the scene's like. And I was like, I was like, all right, you want to open something? I was like, and then I messaged you, I was like, let's get a coffee. And in my mind, I was like, that was an open door for me to be like, all right, you're looking for something. So let me come to you and say, how about we already have a year's worth of trading. We have a concept already. Yeah. You know, rather than starting from fresh, like we've got this, you know, and then for me, I was like, I didn't know if you kind of had maybe similar thoughts or whether you were just clean slate.
No, honestly, I hadn't. Like, so like, as I remember it, I was looking for a bar, kind of because like as I'm sure a lot of people have done, they kind of like set I think I set an arbitrary like age where I needed to own my own bar, like otherwise I was a failure. Like, you know, so like, and I think I originally set it at 30, but then I loved my job at EBS and I still do. So like I was like 35. Like obviously it was just round numbers, whatever. So I made it like 35, I think, and then I was approaching that age, and I was like, oh, okay, like it's time. So then I started looking. And I was living in Barcelona at the time, but wasn't wasn't confident enough to open in something in Barcelona. One, because I didn't understand the Spanish system that well, didn't understand the Spanish market that well, didn't speak Spanish. So there's a lot of like factors where I just don't feel comfortable. I feel like I know the UK market, and I never really bartended in Spain. You know, like when I lived in Spain for years, but like I was always teaching. So like, yeah, my experience in Spain is more, is more business, is more educational, and even when I lived here, to be honest, I was spending 6 months of the year outside of the country. So I just felt more comfortable in the UK. So I was looking in the UK. I was looking a lot of places. Manchester was probably number one on the list. There's a couple of other places. I was looking at London as well. And then I reached out to you and a couple of other people just to have chats, really, just to see what happens. And sometimes that's the way it goes, right? You just want to chat to a few people and just like see what's good. You're like, wow, what's going on? What's happening? I looked at a few venues as well, and then you and me started chatting. And then I think you said, I knew you were running Speaking Code, I think. And then, but I didn't know what the situation was. I didn't know it was like a pop-up kind of thing.
Yeah, it's all. It's a little bit like tricky to kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, because in my mind, I was the proprietor and for sure founder. But like in a sense, like the team who had the lease, the guys who had the cafe, were like kind of taking ownership of what we were doing, and for me that was never the deal, so that was when I was, like I said, I went into it quite naively, and that wasn't the deal for me. And actually being associated with them in some way was actually really damaging for us, because like we shared suppliers, they weren't paying supplier bills and all this kind of stuff, and we were getting like some heat from it, and people were coming to us and be like, what's going on here? And we're like, actually, like we're a separate thing. But really, in everybody else's eyes, like anybody else who worked with us didn't see that at all. So by default, we were part of that sort of, we were under that umbrella. And that was when I was like, okay, look, it was scrappy, jumped into it, even conceptually as well. Speaking Code was a little bit scrappy, not necessarily like nailed on. And at the time, I didn't really have any sort of support system really to kind of say, let's build on something. It was just a case of like, I remember the way it opened, I was like, I wanted to write a book called Speaking Code. I love Death & Co. I love New York. And I was like, cool, like this, I love hip hop. A couple of elements there that work together, like, let's go. And it was a pop-up, it's very much a pop-up. And the way I saw it was like, I was the owner of the pop-up and obviously the proprietor. And then it just came to a head where it's like, we need to split and have full separation from the guys who were with the cafe. And that's kind of where that's
so
where
one of you needed to leave, basically.
One of us needed to leave. That was almost like perfect time. And you came around and was like, you want to set up a bar. And for me, it was like, it makes sense. Like I know, like now just on record, like Speaking Code would have closed if you didn't come along, for sure. Like there's no way I could have done that solo. Like I was running myself into the ground, being involved in service every day. Like you can't manage a business that way. It's just difficult. I'd always say, like, for sure, like if you're going to be in the business, you need a partner. You need eyes inside the building, eyes outside the building. And I think that's what we do. We do pretty well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good, man. So what was your decision-making process like? Or was it like, was it kind of a no-brainer because of the situation you were already in? So like, as I'll tell you honestly, like when I had the opportunity to go into business with you, like I knew I had to drop some money down, and I was like, not trepidatious by any means, but it was more money than I'd ever spent in my entire life. I'll tell you that straight away. Well, I bought a house, but it was still like it was more than the house that I bought. Like that's all I'd done before that. Like in terms of big purchases, the only thing I'd done before Speaking Code was buy a house, and then I remortgaged it to buy to like invest in Speaking Code. So obviously I was like, it was smart to think about this guy I'm going to go into partnership with. So what, like, I want to hear from you. Like, was there any concerns? Did you ask yourself any questions? Did you think too much about what it means to be in partnership with someone? Or were you in such a shit spot that you were like, anything's better than this?
A little bit of that, actually. It was like I said, such a shitty spot that I just knew. I was like, man, I've worked with this guy. Like, I know this guy's hospitality focused. So that's just ultimately a better scenario. That works well. So, and I think at the time I was feeling a lot of strain and a lot of pressure, and I needed that help and support for sure, you know?
Yeah.
I think it wasn't long after that we went straight into a lockdown. And that was for me.
It wasn't that long, huh?
That was the first time I took like a mental break from work. And I think like a lot of people had a bit of a mental wobble, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if I wanted to do this anymore, you know? And it's almost like you came and took a massive weight off my shoulders and a lot of pressure off me. But it was a no-brainer. Like for me, I was like, you know, this bar needs more hospitality people, needs more hospitality focus, and to get away from this scrappy way of existing, you know? And even to a point, a year down the line, you're still coming in and still having to move sofas out of the room and put all your bottles back on the back bar, and at the end of the night at 3 a.m. pull all your bottles off. It was just like, this is chaos. Like this has to stop at some point. But I think at the time, the excitement of opening a bar or a pop-up or whatever was too good not to pass. And
I still think it was the right choice, man. Like, you know, like not that many people get the perfect opportunity, and saying yes to shit, even if it's not the perfect thing that you want, it just might lead to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Like if too many people hold out for the perfect scenario, it's like, yeah, but I want it to be like this. And like, yeah, but well, maybe one day it will be like that. But for now, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, deal with it and then deal with the next thing and then keep dealing with it until you've got the thing that you want.
And, you know, I actually had like people approach me about investment and stuff and coming in as business partners, but just not the right people at all.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at something and I'll die on the hill of like, you know, this artistic approach and adding value and being impactful. And, you know, I think we probably think fairly similarly. Like, you know, you open a bar as a business, you want to make money, you don't want to lose money for sure, right?
Yeah.
But there's an element for us where it's like, actually, there are some things that are still, you know, it's not necessarily about making millions, but we want to be impactful. You know, we want to be community focused, and we want to add value to the industry that we're in, right? And those things play a massive part of a lot of our decisions. And I think some people that I'd spoken to in that first year of opening who were like, hey, I want to come in on the show, I just thought, man, you're just not here for this. You know what I mean? You just think it's going to be cool to have a bar, and it's not the way. You know, it's not. It's you're not going to get stuck in, basically. You know, you're not going to get stuck into it. You're not going to go through the nitty gritty, and that the moment things start to look troubling and there's any sort of like yellow flags or red flags, it's just like cut everything, buy the cheapest products. You know,
or 2 years in, they start going, I kind of want to be getting paid now. And you're like, yeah, no, you need to keep investing, which is what I hope we've done. You know, like, So I think a saying, I don't know where the saying is from, but they like something like the first 5 years in business is not about getting money, it's about getting good. And I think I kind of understand that now, even though like, and you know, to give my background a little bit, like I have a very long history in bar management, like venue management. I was a venue manager at 22, 23, I think. So I've been a venue manager from 23 to almost 30, and then working for EBS from 30 to some time after that, and now I'm like, I don't know, at least 65 years old or something. So I don't know, at least 55 years in the industry. But even after a lot of venue management, there is still a big learning curve from venue manager at many different places to bar owner. There's still loads that you're like, oh shit, somebody else must have been dealing with that at my last job, because I've never experienced this before. So yeah, it still takes like a few years to get good, but also to have the breathing room to not be scrappy, like you said, to have that moment to go, maybe we should like reconsider this. Like, you know, like even like little things, like in the first year, the electricity company was whoever the electricity company was when we took it over, and it just continued to be that. And then like maybe 3 years down the line, you're like, maybe I can like actually shop around for that. And then same with the card machines, and then same with like this, and then like, okay, like what material can we use for this? And okay, let's let's replace all the furniture, let's replace the bar top, let's do this, and start thinking a bit more methodically. But there's like, you're kind of making not knee-jerk reactions, but certainly like you're not always considering things for as long as you would like to consider them ideally in the first 2 or even 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, maybe for us it was weird because like we spent the first 5 years of our business with 2 of them in lockdown or something, whatever. I don't know how long lockdown was. It felt like 100 years. All right, tell me about this drink now. I know I'm going to get back to it.
Dirty Negroni.
Of course.
Dirty Negroni. And it's funny as well because when we made this, like we weren't really paying attention to the fact that actually this was kind of a drink that was on the rise, like in the background as well. But since the release of this menu, there's actually a lot of articles that are kind of popping up around Dirty Negroni. So we were just kind of like, oh, we landed on something at a time when actually it's being popularized. We're like, cool. So first off, we're a plant-based bar, so we use Amaro alternatives. So we use Chinar and Select Aperitivo. We've got our own gin in there as well. So our gin is based on dandelion, olive, and bergamot. It's quite a savory gin, so it works really well in Negronis and dirty martinis. So it's our gin, the Amaro blend, sweet vermouth, and then we do a cured lemon and oregano olive brine. So we use Perello olives, big chunkers on the side of your glass there.
Big chunkers.
Yeah, and it's got like a hint of chili in the brine as well. Super savory. So cured lemon is salted lemons left for a couple weeks. Pull that out, add some oregano, add some olive brine, just 10 ml of that into the Negroni, and it's delish.
Before it even hit my lips, like it's such like a kick of olive brine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a banger. Yeah. Yeah, that's so nice. What's the process of getting our own gin, made? Like, and why is that important?
Kind of
why bother?
Two reasons really. Like one of them is a sustainability aspect, and cutting out bottles, labels, etc. Delivered in bigger batches and jerry cans. 2, just more talking points as well. More control of flavor. So I think that's what we do really well. Is we control the flavor profiles of everything going out to guests as much as possible, and we partnered with somebody that we work well with. We've had a good relationship with over time, and for us, I think the more we have our own beers made, we have our own wines, sparkling wine made, we have our own gin made, and I think there's no stopping us there for sure. We're going to look into. I'm planting seeds, seeds. Talk about some of the bits, like whether we make an Amaro or vermouth or whatever. I think we're quite ambitious as a small business to do as much as possible, collaborate as much as possible as well. Like I think I had that ethos from such a sort of I guess in our youth of speaking code, so to speak, is like, we're a small bar with limited resources, like partner with people to create talking points, and that way, you're building yourself up, but then you're building other people up too, and it's a two-way thing. It's like community of everybody building everybody up, and that's something I hold to quite a high value. And I think we created the perfect gin that suits our bar and our current menu really well too.
It's nice to do a lot of stuff locally, man. And like and I think like to some degree we do it against the odds. And I mean, I speak about the wine, like, we make our own, well, we don't make our own wine, but we partner with is it Pattingham?
Pattingham Vineyard.
Yeah, like and like England isn't renowned for its wine, but like it's banging wine. It's like it's super good. Yeah. So I think it's nice to keep it local. I mean, it doesn't just need to be like a buzzword. Like there's banging English wines. Yeah. This reminds me. It's very reminiscent of just like a very classic Spanish drink, which is like vermouth with an olive in it. Like it's very normal in Spain to drink a vermouth as an aperitif. And have like olive on the side, or to have a bowl of olives, or even an olive in the vermouth. And this is just like the upgraded version of that, like more spirit forward.
I think that's a phenomenal Negroni. Yeah, for sure.
So I want to jump back onto partnerships for a minute.
Yep.
Well, I think like I think I want to get like into the meat and potatoes of it a little bit, like as a, you know, like looking back before I was able to own a bar with you, like I guess I didn't really like, you know, like I was like walking in blind, as I imagine you were as well. You kind of like walking in blind. You don't really know how it all works. Like even like as quite a well informed person in the industry, having spent, you know, I was already 20 years in or whatever. Like you kind of still don't know like what all the workings are. So like I want to go through a little bit of the actual process a little bit.
Yeah.
So first of all, like what would you say to someone like if they're considering opening a bar, they want to actually do it, and maybe they're considering a partnership. Let's talk about partnerships. So like what should they look for in a partner? What's the key things to find, and what are the warning signs?
Well, I think we have quite a unique situation where both of us have the relevant experience inside of hospitality. And then you have admittedly a lot more experience on the other side, which is, like you said, you have a lot of years of management experience, and I kind of fast tracked through that. So we have quite a unique situation where both of us are quite experienced inside of hospitality, so we've both got a good perspective, and my experience is definitely more inside the room than outside of it. But I think for anyone looking for a partnership, it's important that, well, alignment is always important, but I've seen partnerships fail where, people go in separate ways because they have different visions. You know, I think we just happen to have, and through this has probably been built over time as well, through like maybe without knowing at the time, we were probably making certain compromises, being like, oh, this is what I value, that's what you value, but this is the best thing. So cool, that's the best thing. Then let's do that with a common goal, you know. So if you want two different things, you got to find that out pretty early.
Yeah. No, but you shouldn't skirt over alignment. I don't think like you're right to say alignment. I think that's a massive thing, and I think when you get an opportunity, and it's not to say that you shouldn't take it anyway, because sometimes it might not be the perfect thing right now, but it could lead to something because it opens more doors. And sometimes the door that you're opening is not the final door you want to go through. In fact, most of the time it isn't. So it just leads to another one. But you're right, like alignment is key, because like I think you and me both have an understanding, and whether we looked out on that or not, I'm not sure, but neither of us put the profit before the quality of what we put out. I think we would both rather make no money and do something good than the other way around.
Yeah, and if you look and just say as a general kind of statement, why probably a lot of business partnerships fail is because probably one of them wants more equipment and one of them wants more money, right?
Yeah.
And probably say this in
this
case too, where like I'm always the one who wants, probably wants more equipment, but at the same time, I think we always see things from each other's perspective as well. Always like, even sometimes if it's harder to understand, like I think there's always this kind of like, we are doing things with a very specific purpose. Like it's not a playground. Like speaking code is not a playground.
Yeah. And
I think as well, like, we from, I don't know, maybe I'm putting myself in your shoes here a little bit, but like for me, I've never experienced our bar as a guest. Actually, it's probably about 3 weeks ago I went in there for the first time for a quick drink. I was in and out, like, because I was just like, I'm not comfortable in this environment. I want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very, very service focused and service driven. But if you have two owners if they've spent some time in the business but take a step back, or never spent any time in the business or whatever, I think like maybe, speaking from inexperience, but maybe it's easier to be more conflicted because it's like you both got two outside perspectives, and maybe hopefully you align, but sometimes I don't know, maybe the vision's different from an outside perspective, where I'm almost 100% in the business, you know what I mean? So, and I think nowadays, we've got a lot of stability in the team, and I can kind of be afforded a little bit more time to take care of the business from a growth from the growth side and work on collaborations and projects and stuff, but that's still kind of in the business, but I'm almost in that building almost every day, so I've got a very close eye on it and very, finger on the pulse, and you've got that sort of like zoomed out perspective.
I always say zoomed out.
Yeah. And I think that's great, because you'll always be the first person I come to for, like, if I've got, it's like an idea for something to, whether it's a new piece of equipment or, hey, we need something in the bar or whatever, like, and I think I have that respect to know that I'm just not going to go pull the trigger. Like, I'm not going to go drop a couple grand on a fridge freezer without just being like, hey man,
Yeah, and the same goes the other way. I wouldn't
sure.
do this.
Yeah. So, and I think maybe, I don't know, I'm not saying that would happen in every other case, but I don't know, maybe those.
Well, I think it makes a big difference. Like, the reason that I'm not in the bar every day, I mean, I have a separate full-time job and something else going on, and I don't even live in the UK full-time. So like that, there's a lot of reasons I'm not in that building every day. But I think what makes a big difference is I did 20 years in hospitality before owning a bar. And I think if I didn't have that, it would be very difficult for us to communicate to each other. Because you'd be like, like I might say like, why are you turning people away at the door? Or like, why can't you turn over tables faster? Or I don't know, like why can't we, like, why can't we put more drinks on tap? Or I don't know, there could be like 1,000 things I could throw at you that would make more money in the short term. But you wouldn't be able to explain to me like what the long-term benefit of doing it in the way that you're doing it is. But because I've got the experience and I suppose to some degree, to give myself credit, I have the ability to empathize and understand, and I do really enjoy the industry as well, and I know how it works. Like, when you say to me, we do it like this because of this, and this is the way, and it's not like, like I'm asking you to explain it to me anyway. It's more that we both keep each other in check. Like, you ask me, why am I doing things my way? And I ask you the other way. So, but yeah, if I didn't have plenty of hospitality background, it'd be frustrating. Like, even if I wanted to just go like, accept everything you said to me, that's not really how it works, right? Like, it doesn't help anyone. If I don't know what I'm talking about, and then you say, we do it like this because of this, and I just have to accept it because I haven't got a leg to stand on. Like, it's better that I can challenge you from an outside perspective, but at least a knowledgeable one. It might not be as knowledgeable as you as far as inside of the building, but I've got alternative viewpoints in the same industry, and I'll be like, but what about if we did this, and what about if we did that? And we can challenge each other enough, but from a place of reasonable knowledge, and we have mutual respect. Because I think if I was never in hospitality industry, you'd fucking lose patience with me, and you'd be like, I tell this guy, but he doesn't fucking get it,
Yeah. And you do hear that a lot from other bars and bartenders, and from a team's perspective, like having that direct communication connection with ownership is massively important to also helping the business thrive too, because we can have our input into the way we communicate with each other, and the decisions that we make still needs to run itself to a very high standard, we can facilitate, and that's something you do well as well, whenever you do like site visits, or we chat about the development of the bar and the space, like you've helped facilitate that growth as well, and like it's in a place now, it looks completely different to when we first started. But yeah, like I notice I can walk into a bar and know owners haven't been in here it's either either owners haven't been in here in a while, or this is a playground for the owner. Do you know what I mean?
A plain bar.
Exactly. And there's you hear a lot of frustration from bartenders, and kind of where I'm in a bit more of a unique situation is like, because I'm still in service, I'm somewhere on this fence of like still in that environment and still almost like making connections with people as a bartender, when actually I don't consider myself a bartender anymore. I'm behind the bar. I was behind the bar last week. I was making drinks, whatever. I roll my sleeves up, like laugh with the team, but like I'm gonna show you how it's done, whatever. But I'm not really on the bar that much anymore. But like I'm in circles and conversations which kind of still treat me as if, I'm a bartender. And yeah, I think like I can walk into a bar and go, this is either an owner's playground or they just, it's a cash cow, whatever, right? It's kind of, it goes back to knowing your environment. Like there's certain places you walk into and go, you know what, I'm not going to get a cocktail here or whatever, right? But it's no fault of the people that work there. You just go, there's distance between ownership and staff. So you go, the menu was probably developed elsewhere, given to you. You learn the specs, there's a certain amount of like creative freedom. You might be able to suggest a creative twist or whatever, and you're proud of the twist that you make on this cocktail, like you personally, because it's part of your development. But then it's like the owner's there with the team and, going through everything with them and getting your ass kicked for not putting, as you said earlier, putting the menus back correctly on tables.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then it's like, as it should be, yeah. And you just know that, like, I think even from a distance and from you being a little bit more zoomed out, it's like you're still there, you're still active, you're still eyes on, it's like even when I send out a newsletter, like you'll still give it a thumbs up.
Mate,
do you know what I mean? Yeah, and that's important. And everyone goes, and one of the things that one of our guys said recently was, they were like, it's so refreshing to be in a business where, like, I post a newsletter, maybe that can be a responsibility that's passed on to somebody else to free up my time, and it will be. But me posting out the newsletter kind of gives this sense of security for everybody else that one of the owners in the business, at least one, I know we both do, but I mean, they're like, you've got your finger on the pulse inside the building. Do you know what I mean? So all of the relevant information, like this shake needs to, we need to stop tapping tins and being sold out, whatever, like that's coming from a place of like both lived experience and being around the environment too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Because it's easy. Like if people are passing feedback to you, if team members are passing feedback to you, it can be easy if you're not in the business or whatever, you're not in the environment, you could just ignore it,
Yeah.
But we don't, we take it all very seriously. We're in and around in the bar, and we're very eyes on, and we have our finger on the pulse. So that also provides a lot of trust for the team. And I think you can see when bars don't have that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think like, I think that because I know from, industry chat and like gossip and, like we get to know like a lot of things, that partnerships in hospitality do go bad quite often. Like I'm always hearing, like about like this guy doesn't agree with this guy, or like, or maybe you hear about it, but you don't hear the full story. You just hear like, oh, we're separating ways. So like, I'm going to open this and he's going to open there or whatever, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And there's more story there, and maybe you don't know the full details. But I think quite a lot of it, like quite often you have the face of the business, who might be a partner, and I think it quite often there's a partner that's hospitality. They've been in hospitality for a long time, and then there's like an investor who's got multiple businesses, and one of them happens to be cocktail bars, and the other one might be a fucking steel factory, and a wool mill or something. I don't know what they've got, but it's just one other business to them, and I think if they're like. And that's not to like demonize those kinds of people, but like they won't understand the longevity and the importance of doing things really well for a very long time. They want return on investment. Like, like I think reading the numbers, being a little bit more of a numbers guy than like now, like reading the numbers for a hospitality business is very different to reading the numbers for another type of business. And if you only read the numbers, and if you apply the same metrics that you might get from your steel mill or whatever to hospitality, you end up with a really poor product. And if you try and twist the screws on someone who really cares about the business, you end up with a really contentious relationship. And I think that's what happens in hospitality a lot. And I think that's why we see breakups always, like, and it's especially like bartenders who've excelled at their profession, risen up through the ranks, but probably not saved much money because, we're bartenders. And then they've gone, okay, I can smash this. All I need is an investor, and they go and find it, but they find it outside of hospitality. Yeah. They come together. It's great for a year or two. And then the investor's like, okay, so now everyone gets minimum wage,
Yeah.
make as many drinks as you can. Like, let's maybe not use that gin because it's a bit expensive. I can get this bulk for this price. And then it's like, then everything starts to separate, you know, like things start to get a bit crazy. And I think that can be the death of a partnership.
Yeah.
So I think like one I mean, I can think many examples there, but I don't want to call anyone out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you and I had a similar, like, as a group ourselves, we had an experience like that. I think with our Double Down concept that like kind of died. So like we started a second bar in another location, and COVID kind of screwed us a little bit as well. But I think we kind of. I think we learned a valuable lesson for Double Down.
Yeah.
And we're going to open again in a completely different way. But what's your takeaway from it? Like, so like to give people an idea, like we basically tried to open a second bar, and we partnered with a hotel group that basically, you know, like the deal was they run they look after repairs and maintenance, they look after the venue. Yeah. They provide us with everything we need, furniture, etc. And we develop a menu, we staff the place, we do a drink concept, and happy days. And that sounds like a dream on paper, but only if they care as much as you do.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaway from that?
Similarly, it's like a very it's closely related to how Speaking Code started, but it wasn't with a global brand, you know. But yeah, my takeaway from that whole thing was just red flags the whole time. And I think like, you know,
red flags that do you think that like you saw them as red flags at the time, or in hindsight they were red flags?
Nah, so I didn't like their approach.
Yeah.
I think the initial phone call I had was like when I was on a train somewhere and they called me and said, you like, you know, you one of the ones who's Speaking Codes? Yeah, it's like, you seem to know what you're doing. We're opening a venue in Manchester, or we're taking over a venue. There's a space. You think you see, you know, you guys know what you're doing. And I was like, look, I'm just on a train. I'm going somewhere else, and you know, I'm just about to head on to a little trip. I'll be back in a few days. Can we catch up? No, it needs to be now. It needs to be now. And I was like, man, this is pushy. I was like,
yeah, all
right. And then it's like, cool. We'll, you know, drop me an email, whatever, and I'll respond to it as soon as I can. And then I think I must have contacted you at the time, said, you know, this opportunity, whatever. So I immediately just got this vibe. I was like, man, this seems rushed. It seems scrappy. I was like, I don't know. Anyway, went to see the venue. It's like, cool, Northern Quarters pop in, whatever. Like it's a different scene to where we were, even though it's only a 15-minute walk, but it's a different scene. But I think both of us were probably let's get a piece of that pie. You know, we were like, we know what will come with a Northern Quarter venue, which is volume, right? So
yeah.
And then the staff turnover there with those guys was pretty crazy. You know, we dealt with a lot of people. People we were dealing with. People got fired for not closing our deal sooner, right? And that was another red flag for me. So the first person we were dealing with, he got fired for not closing our deal.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He got fired. You know, remember like a few weeks into a month or something, we were being pressed. Hey, sign the deal. And all of a sudden it's like, hey team, I'm the one taking over this deal now, so let's talk. I was like, oh, what's happened here then? You know, and people were getting chucked because we weren't closing this deal. So that was when the whole thing was like, open the doors. And I was like, man, but there's like sewage issues in this space. Like we're sharing a bathroom with a bar upstairs, which wildly different to our concept. Like there are so many things here which we need to talk more about. But it was just, no, open the doors and we'll deal with it later. And that for me, I was like, I was uncomfortable in that environment, but I was trusting. I was like, I know you're like, I can navigate, I can negotiate. I've, involved in a lot of the similar conversations, right? So I was like, and I haven't. So I was like, cool. Like I'll do the other things like I did at Speaking Code. I'll get a team, I'll get the menu, I'll, sort of build on the concept a little bit. And then my takeaway was just, I never felt comfortable going into it in the first place, but I understood the opportunity that was there, you know? But looking back at it now, it's like, where it probably served as well was just testing the waters with a concept. which now that we know, we have a little bit of confidence that like, even now, has it been 4 years, 5 years? Been probably 5.5 years, maybe.
What, since we closed it?
Yeah, since we closed.
No, it'd be less.
2019.
Maybe like 4 years, I reckon.
Yeah. But even now, we'd bring this back now, and people would still know what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's, I think that was probably for me the only benefit that came out of it. Other than that, we spent money that didn't get reimbursed. So
I mean, like for me, like there was a learning experience there. So to frame it a little bit better, like basically, we went into a part of a venue that was owned by a hotel group, and fuck it, I'll name them Selena Hotel Group. Fuck assholes. So yeah, they had a space in a basement, which was like right up our alley. Like we like that like dark and dingy kind of feel. They had an area. They were like, set up a bar in here, do what you want. And we were like, yeah, cool, jamming, let's go. So we basically, like, they said you can have whatever you want, and like they kind of sold us a bit of a dream, really, I guess. And then like as we progressed, it was like dealing with one guy, then that guy disappeared, dealing with another guy, that guy disappeared. So their first red flag is high labor turnover in the business that you're dealing with, probably problems in that business. If everyone keeps quitting and disappearing, there's probably a good chance that the business is like not good to do business with. So that was the first thing. Then it was like, yeah, tell us what furniture you want, tell us what the concept you want. And then like, I remember one thing was like, we had a certain type of blue color that we wanted to paint the walls. And we came in one day and it was like, the blue was like fish and chip shop blue. And I was like, and I said to I emailed them straight away. I was like, guys, look at this blue. Like, this is not the color that we wanted. And they were like, but it's blue. And then that should have been end of conversation. Like, if you think that blue is blue, we can't work together because that is not you don't understand the nuance of venue design and hospitality. Like, it should have ended there, but we just, it was a little bit like sunk cost fallacy. Once you're in a little bit, you just keep going and going and going. You keep getting dragged down the path.
And the window of opportunity as well for kind of having any influence in that space just got smaller and smaller. The situation with the furniture I found was just unbelievable. Like, oh, hey, we're going to kick this out. We have a warehouse. Don't worry about anything. Like, we have a warehouse and we have like upholsters and carpenters and everything, like whatever you want. And it's like, cool, well, let's go to the warehouse then. Yeah, you've either got this chair or none.
Actually, man, like, we don't actually have any chairs.
What about this team of amazing carpenters and furniture makers that you have? It's just this chair. But then the thing that got me as well, the artwork. So we got Pete Obsolete, a well-known Manchester artist, to do some graffiti artwork for us. So basically, on this huge board that was going behind this like perspex kind of and with like some bars in there. Anyway, it was sitting behind this like this perspex sheet with LEDs to be highlighted. Backlit. And the idea was it's a feature in the venue where people might like take photos or whatever. And then they came back to us and said, actually, he features skulls in his artwork and that doesn't fit our Selena concept or our brand. And we was like, well, this is double down. This is different. This is whatever you want to call it, but a bit more like gritty. And so it suits us. But, we have a hostel, so we need to consider, being a little bit more everybody friendly. It's like, okay, but we're gonna commission him to do some artwork for us anyway. And then they said, no, well, actually, we found this other guy who does like boxes and circles and bright colors. And it was like, I just don't know if that fits. Like, really tried to sell us hard on this guy and we would put our foot down. And I think this was the one condition for us where we're just like, nah, all the other stuff sucked. Furniture sucked. The color of the walls sucked. Like, let us have our guy, And then they went to his workshop and told him what to do for the artwork. Like, they just watched over his work and was like, try not to do this, use these colors. And it was like, man, just so restrictive.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like, I don't just sit here and complain about them, but I think it's like, it's not a single person being particularly bad at their job or or trying to ruin things for other people. It's just poor management. Like that kind of shit happens when someone isn't managing things. You know, like there was probably a bunch of good people in that company that were trying to do something. They're trying to please their boss that they maybe don't have good direction from. They're trying to appease us. They're also trying to stick to a brief that they probably haven't had from someone else who got fired last week that actually took over the deal from somebody else who took over the deal from somebody else who actually signed it with us. And it's just like one of those like tumultuous companies where it's just like everything's just wild.
You were trying to find him. You were trying to find him as well. You were trying to cut through the shit basically.
Like, and I'm good at cutting through shit. But like with this company, fuck me.
That was good for me to observe as well because I was quite young in my in my venture of having a venue and opening a new one where you have to deal with like people on a much higher level. It's like, yeah, you were just cutting through that shit and fight like, look, who's the guy I need to speak to? Like, all these, it's it's a jungle out here. Like, it's so I need to cut through everybody here and go to your decision makers and say, listen, look, level with us and let's try and come to a settlement on, look, we have some grievances. Let's talk about them and help us. It's better for you to help us because then we can help you. We went in this on a partnership. It's a profit share deal. It's not a one-way thing. You know what I mean?
But we should have bailed, but we didn't. And in the end, just to give everyone a sad ending to the story, basically when we went into COVID, they owed us like, I think 20 grand or something like that. And they just never paid us basically. And I think if there's one key takeaway, like a solid takeaway that you can take is just because you invoice someone doesn't mean they're going to pay. And if they're a multi-billion-dollar company like Selena Hotels are, you're not going to take them to court. It's not going to happen. Like, just forget about it. So, just be careful.
And now I think like sometimes it's just fun just to play with them if any contact comes back to us. Because I very recently in the last couple of months went and took our sign back from the above the door. Sign. And I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty heavy to carry through the city centre. But
emotionally,
both. but like somebody contacted me fairly recently, probably 6 months ago, and was just like, "Hey, is this? I just want to check. Is this the owner of the Double Down Instagram?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm just calling from Selena. We're just trying to take the Instagram handle back." I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, we just, we're thinking about using that space again. I was like, that concept doesn't belong to you, right? And like, oh yeah, maybe I wasn't briefed. I was like, while you're here, is there anybody you can ask about this 20 grand?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about 20 grand. I just do social media.
It's like, do you want to buy the concept off us? Yeah. It's 20 grand plus whatever the brand is worth. Yeah. All right, let's end on a high note then. What's next for Speaking Code? What have we got planned?
I mean, can we
let's reveal some plans.
All right, so plans are
the next for us, like we got two plans.
Yeah,
two big ones.
Two plans is obviously the bring Double Down back.
Yeah.
That's going to be sick. Done our way. Super high concept, modern space. I think you've been putting a lot of thought into design aspects, which has been great.
A lot, yeah.
Feeding stuff to me every now and again, and now like algorithms are bringing my feed up to like design stuff, and I'm taking a keen interest too. So yeah, like not necessarily high tech, but humble, contemporary. Cool little basement bar that plays hip hop, and that's something that's in the works. You've been doing a lot of the groundwork on that one, and then looking at expanding Speaking Code into a space next door. Actually, is still technically under our lease, but basically knocking through a wall and then putting in there for lack of a better term right now, but just like a chef's table style bar. Get probably 20 seats in that space, and that is kind of the area where we can do a little bit more of a focus on the technicalities of what we do. So it opens up so many possibilities for us to do things like workshops, something we don't do right now because it's quite a fixed space, don't really have much flexibility in the room. Do more tastings, events, takeovers, guest shifts. And a bit more of an immersive experience, I think.
Well, that's the thing which I think is like the one, because I think like so many people, well, not so many people, but let's say like there's a decent split between our crowd, and there's plenty of people who want more from us. They want more of an immersive experience. They want to hear more about the menu. They want to hear more about the drinks, how they're made, and we can't always give that, and the chef's table will give that.
100%. And I think it's the right thing to do. I toyed with the idea a little while ago as well, like personally, and I thought, you know what, I don't know, maybe it's restrictive for the space. I was like, could just put in 2024 seats in there for regular service be more beneficial for us. Actually opening a sort of a new door that makes the space more flexible in terms of like, look, you know, when our menus are done, they're set. Like, we don't really have much opportunity to do many things with brands other than like takeovers or whatever. But there's no reason why a new product launch can't be done at Speak & Code. There's no reason why a guest shift or a bartender who's flying through Manchester or whatever can't just stop by and do an educational session in the daytime.
And they can do it completely separately if we have that, like that little area. And they can do it like very intense and like with people, basically.
I do like getting a setup like this as well, you know, for some social content.
Man.
I think like just having all of our like technical equipment on display as well just kind of adds more value to get, again, saying it a little bit earlier, but the prep room behind the bar, you don't really get to see what happens there. You just have to trust that what we're saying is, you know, is the fact. But actually, like, you know, you're sitting at this like chef's table style bar, you're watching a bartender work, and behind him there's something distilling in a gyro wrap, and then when it's done, you could just, there you go, a little taster, whatever. And yeah, just having that possibility, I think, is the right move, and something that we're backing and something that we're pushing for at the moment as well. So it's all goes well. And that'll come to life, and I think that'll strengthen our sort of vision a little bit more as well, and also as well, because it's not to say that at all. I think like we have a pretty clear identity in what style of bar that we are, but I think like this is only going to strengthen that further by, you know, like, all right, these are the guys that can be pretty technical with their drinks, and it's all on display for you as well.
No, well, it gives people the option, right? Like, it gives people like you can come into the bar and enjoy it, because, like, you know, it's like we were talking about before. Like, how much do you want to hold people's hands? You're almost giving them the opportunity. Like, you know, like, do you want to just sit down and like not even look at a menu, and we'll just look after you and don't worry about it? And I've been to plenty of places like that, and honestly, I love that shit. Because I like pretty much everything. I'm not fussy. And I kind of think it's like the same with like tattoos and stuff. Like, I have this like thing with like I can if I want to get a new tattoo, which hasn't been a while because like I'm basically full, but like I'll always be like, this is what I'm interested in, and whatever they come back with, I'm like, yeah, man, do it. Like, because I've already researched the artist, I've already thought about what I like, and the artist has married those two things together and gone, this is what I think, and I'm like, yeah, dude, go for it. And I think that's the same to some degree with like creating drinks. There's plenty of people who've like gone, okay, like I just want to come and sit down and just look after me, man. Like, you know, I don't need to. Like, maybe you're better at picking my drink than I am, to be honest. Like, and that's maybe the case in many cases. So hopefully we're able to do that, because I think that'll be super exciting. And hopefully that and Double Down can both come in 2025.
Nice,
cool,
sick, man.
Cheers, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.